last time on Asmiliath Adventures, the Golden Hearts leave Vilstein to head to the Crow's Crest Manor for the party occurring on the 10th. During the travels, Terry starts some shit and challenges Jarek to a little bit of a gambling session. Through a very close game of dots and boxes, Terry beats Jarek, unsurprisingly. The wager, 10 minutes of bare ass outside the cart. Valoran immediately shuts this down, as he should, because this is a terrible move. Upon the road, the party meets Ser Florent Lemoyne, who is sent by Count Barbet of Northwatch Castle to assist in their efforts with Solomon. Thankfully, the group also discovers a dear friend in the form of Buffy the Bear. Many head scratches and belly rubs are given by Thor to Buffy as they spend some time reminiscing in their own special way. Throughout the travels as well, Florent offers Jarek some help in his deceptive nature and acts. The days pass with not much occurring until they finally enter Assaline County, Solomon's domain. The group quickly forms a plan, with Ser Florent leaving to the group for their own wiles, while Jarek takes Rolly and heads on ahead of Thor and Valoran. Through a variety of well-placed songs, Jarek finds out some information regarding the Solomon domain, as Rolly is meant to go out and find where the Lady Janique is buried within the Solomon graveyard. Very interesting information is found out as we discover that the performers for the reenactment are all half-orc slaves planned to be slaughtered during the reenactment. One great gem of information is discovered that Solomon himself will be participating in the reenactment. Who knows what could happen? Finally, Valoran enters the township, gifts and ale a-flowing, giving out food and gifts to the townspeople, even inciting the crowd to cheer his name and call out for him. Solomon takes quick notice and sends his head servant down, who quickly squashes the joyous cries of his people. With a delicate nod, Valoran and Thor are invited up into the manor. At the end of the day, some of the worst news is found out, as Lorna is being wedded and bedded by old Overseer Croak. We pick up with our party.
So the date is August 6th, as Valoran and Thor, you are being led up the kind of meandering pathway to the manor atop the hill. Again, there are various gardens and decorations, statues, fountains that kind of separate the smaller, more urban structures at the base of the hill and the massive manor at the top, very much securing the distinct difference or level of success between the common folk and the noblemen in the manor. Being led by the rather abrasive servant that met you down by the gate, you pass by the two guards that stand very stoically in front of the grand doors, and as the doors open up in front of you, a giant white grand room is revealed to you, in stark contrast to the kind of spiky, dark, Gothic architecture of the exterior of the building. It's almost kind of blinding as you glance into this first room, and you see lining on either side all the way to the end replicants of the guards standing outside the main door, stood tall, straight, eyes forward, at attention. More and more armed men fill this spacious room. It's clear that the center of the room is being prepared for the party that you are relatively early for. Various tables and platters and dishes kind of stacked around in preparation to be used, but not quite laid out yet. And as you open the doors to this room and kind of are ushered forth, the head servant kind of bowing his head and moving out, you see Valoran. You would recognize him rather quickly. Lord Solomon, the center of your woes, appearing from the far side of the room. This is maybe, 100 feet or so away from you, but even at this distance, you can clearly see the rather cold, stoic, calm demeanor of the lord that you've met several times. His eyes are rather cold. He has a thin black mustache. His hair's slicked back. He's wearing rather modest clothes for someone of his stature. Not that he is dressed in any sort of shabby way, but he's not gloating his wealth with his apparel, very much choosing to pick something a bit more modest for at least this particular appearance. But his eyes are on you. For just the briefest moment, they do flick over to your muscular companion, but otherwise he very quickly, and not silently, but rhythmically, walks across the white room, his footsteps kind of echoing as he grows closer and closer, nobody making a noise or a peep as everyone stands at their positions. Finally, as he's about 20 or 30 feet away, you see the very thin line of his lips curve up just ever so gently, putting on the faintest smile he possibly can to greet someone of your renown, nodding his head very gently to you. Lord Athelvane, it's a pleasure for you to be here, though I am very sorry to inform you that your theatrics are a bit preemptive. The party is not for another 4 days. Perhaps you should turn around and try it again.
Lord Salomon, and he's going to smile very large, and actually with his free hand, he's got his gift basket in the other arm. With his free hand, he's going to reach out to take Salomon's hand for a nice big shake. And he says, "Oh, it is so good to see a familiar face at last. I feel like I have been traveling for an age. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear about your wife, Thor." And he waves at Thor with the big black fake flower arrangement. I wish I could have been here.
As you offer your hand, Lord Solomon is not a frail man, but he's definitely a thinner man. His overall physique very much being slender and slim, so he reaches out an almost bony hand, his fingers almost too elongated and seem almost slightly, strange in appearance, but he places his hand delicately upon yours, not firmly gripping yours, just to allow you to shake it kind of on your own, nodding along very slowly to your words, keeping that slight smile on his face as you do so. As Thor is brought forward with the arrangement, he kind of gives a slight nod to Thor and then returns back to you. I've heard that you had quite the adventure slumming around in Giles' kingdom, my boy. It is so joyous of a day that you've returned to your homeland and that you are with people of better renown.
I could not agree more. And it was a very interesting journey, a very profitable journey at long last. And you certainly had a hand in it yourself. I must say, I did not take you for such a practical joker. What was it? The shelled marauders. That was genius. Who's next? The furry troublemakers? Oh, so... I did not know you had it in you.
It's rather difficult to find people of elite skill and talent that are willing to leave our lovely home of Folke Kingdom. But I guess you found that out the hard way, and I am very pleased that you have found your way to me, despite your suggestions to not do so.
Needs must. I simply could not leave the important business in Giles unattended. I am so sorry, again, that I could not be here any faster. Although you really should speak to Alum. Pranks or not, his manners were entirely too familiar for someone of his station.
You see his smile kind of retreat a little bit, returning back to the more thin line as he breaks away from the conversation ever so for just a small moment, looking over at his man that had greeted you at the gate, kind of gesturing with his hand over to Thor, where the half-orc servant kind of bows, takes the giant bushel of flowers from you and kind of scurrying it off to the side, and then returning to the conversation with you as he glances down at the gift basket. Sir Ollum is a rather, excitable man, and that's one key feature that I find very useful with him, though his manners can be forgotten if he is put to a task that is rather important. I wish that his message would have gotten to you a bit sooner, and that your feet would have carried you here before today, but better late than never, as most things.
Of course. And if there's one thing I understand, it's struggling to find good help. When one is a hammer, everything does look like a nail. As for the display outside, don't pay me any mind. I'm just happy to be home. Why wait for the celebration to begin?
Speaking of hammers, Lord Athelvane, it appears that you have found yourself a rather impressive hammer to wield, kind of gesturing over at Thor.
Yes, he is an interesting specimen, isn't he? I know it's a little different from what we're used to, but fear not, I have not gone native. He owes me his life, and so I find it useful to keep him as a beast of burden.
Well, I was only moderately concerned knowing your family's suggestive beliefs surrounding the races that live up in the mountains. So I was just making sure that you would not be grown too familiar with our enemy.
Oh, this fellow is no one's enemy. You should have seen it. But really, it's just about keeping your eyes and ears open for opportunities. Not judging books by their cover, you know.
Nods along, and then he looks over at you, Thor, actually kind of making eye contact with you for the first time. There's a brief moment where it almost appears that he might address you, then he thinks better of it and turns back to Valoran. Well, Lord Athelvane, we were just sitting down to lunch. I'm sure that your muscular companion eats rather well, and I would enjoy a private conversation with you before I allow you to see your family, which I'm sure you are eager to do.
Well, naturally. I'm glad they're still here.
He nods his head and he looks over at the half-orc. He goes, Daniel, please, show our companion. And you see the half-orc nod his head and then step up beside you, Thor. And then just kind of like point in the general direction away from Valoran and Lord Solomon, and then begins kind of leading you to the side.
I would just look at Valoran for affirmation. And then if I get that affirmation, then I will go.
Yeah, he nods once.
Okay. So after Thor is brought away, and it's just you and Lord Solomon and the servants they're outside of earshot at this point, but they are definitely present. Lord Solomon kind of steps forward, and he's, I don't know, probably a couple inches shorter than you, but is still capable of kind of sending one of his slender arms around your shoulder, kind of embracing you to his side as he gestures at the room that you have entered. And again, there are various, decorations, large banners holding the Solomon sigil, various silverware and, elegant tablecloths and all that kind of stuff have been laid out and kind of presented. But at the end of the hallway, one of the more prominent decorations is a very large portrait of a man in obvious military dress. Hand kind of rested on his the center part of the jacket, his eyes staring kind of off into the distance in some sort of heroic manner. It's clear that this is, as far as you can tell, someone related to Solomon. It has some of the same facial features, somewhat recognizable, and Solomon then gestures up to him. He goes, I know that you have not been here long, but I imagine that you have heard about my Uncle Enzo's victory being celebrated for the 50th anniversary. That is coming up this weekend.
I did. Bully for you.
It's going to be quite the extravagant, party, I guess you can say. Our liege, the Duke, is going to show up and make his appearance, which I very much appreciate. And lots of the noblemen of Folk Kingdom are going to show face in support of the Solomon household in our many victories. It's going to be quite the event.
Fantastic.
Lord Athelvane, there is a lot that we shall discuss, and I will not try to dump everything that I have on you as soon as you walk through my door. It would not make me a very good host, but there is much that we should discuss before we get to some merriment, some relaxation after your hard journey.
Of course, I think we're leaving earshot of the help, so just call me Valoran Man.
Lord Athelvain, I would never stoop so low as to suggest that you are not the lord that you are. If Folke is nothing, it is certainly a place that we respect one's title, authority, and position, and I know that some of your family's beliefs are rather on the fringe of our accepted policy, but if nothing else, I imagine you agree on that particular moment.
Well, as you please, but I know who I am. And besides, I've learned a lot since my father's passing in terms of our beliefs. Let's just leave it at that for now, shall we?
Well, I will try not to hold us for too long, but let me express the situation that we find ourselves in. I know that my man, Sir Ollum, despite his zealous approach, was attempting to bring you here for a matter that is quite delicate. I know that probably at this point you are aware that your family is not at your home. They have been transferred here, and for good reason. Your mother is in good health and enjoying herself and being placated by the various servants that I have. Your sister I approached very soon after your departure to Giles' kingdom, and I was rather regretful that I could not discuss it with you beforehand, but her and I are to be wed, and I don't know how familiar you are with your lordly duties since you are so green in the ears in that regard, but it is our tradition that the patriarch of your family would sign off on the marriage, and I cannot go through with it until you do so, and that is the sticking point to which we find ourselves.
You don't say. I had no idea that the two of you felt that way about each other. No need to explain. I can understand in these moments of tragedy, emotions run high. We find ourselves feeling things that we could never have imagined before. But that is very, very good news.
It is great news. Despite the emotional connection that I had with my late wife, there is the rather practical aspect of having no heir to bestow my wealth upon after I am gone. So finding a new bride to facilitate that particular problem was on the forefront of my mind and certainly helped expedite the process of finding your sister.
Well, I can understand that, old man, but you're saying she's not here.
Oh, she is here. She's eating lunch with my knights, along with your mother currently. We were having a very good a snack of honey-roasted pheasant and some bacon sandwiches. It's quite the rage, I hear.
Oh, well, very good. I wasn't sure what you meant at first. Yes, my mother wrote to me to tell me that they would be holidaying here. I had no idea that it was such a momentous occasion, after all.
Well, I'm sure that she wanted your head intact as you finished your business obligation in Giles' kingdom so that you could return back with the wealth that your family need. And as we broach that subject, I will bring forth that particular problem. I am sure that you are aware that your family owes me quite a bit of money, and this is certainly nothing that I am going to hold over your head as we pursue tying the knot between our two households. But it does bring up the issue that I do have debts that I need to pay myself, and I have people and places and things that need dealing with, and money is needed for those particular problems, but I am ready to discuss a solution with you that might seem a little extraordinary at first, but as I explain myself, hopefully you become more accepting of my offer.
You find yourself short on liquid funds as well?
In these trying times, everybody needs a little bit more metal to grease the palms of our peers.
Too right.
But I do not seek wealth from you, at least not in the traditional sense. The offer that I am willing to give you, I know that you still hold the title Lord of Corsair, or Lord of Capmont, my apologies. If you are willing to forfeit that title and pass it over to me, I am more than willing to help make sure you keep the Count of Corsair alive. And that can be the domain in which you rule and learn to maneuver through the political cobweb that is Folke. And as a gift to you, giving up this tradition that you have held in your family for some time, I am prepared to reinstate and help fund the Chevaliers of Corsair. I know it's a rather antique order that you have some tie to, and I am moderately interested in their going-ons and seeing their revival. And I know that this might come as a shock, but I wanted to see what your temperature was upon my proposal.
Well, Lord Solomon, that is... Well, that's quite a lot for me to digest, having just come off the road.
I don't expect an answer currently. I would like for you to think on it, and we can discuss it further, but I wanted to make sure you knew that was the rough plan that was hopefully going forward. I'm sure that your sister and your mother will mention to you it in some regard, so I thought it would come from me first.
I understand. It's a lot to consider, my friend. But I must confess that the demands of my father's traditional role are greater than I ever imagined.
The weight of being a noble is much heavier than you would think until you have to support the populace that rely on you.
Indeed.
Well, I shall not platter in your ear any further. I will bring you to our dining room, and I shall see you to your family. I should also introduce to you a few of the, I guess, party-goers that have arrived early, and then my knights as well. I don't think that you have made it to my court anytime recently.
No, that's true. I look forward to all of it.
Well, follow me, Lord Athelvane, and I shall lead you to it.
Lead on.
Okay. So, at this point, I don't know if Thor, Rolly, or Jarek, either of you are chomping at the bit to do something, but we're going to hop over to one of the three of you, or two of the three of you, or one of the three of you. So, is there anyone that is rather ready to go?
I want to see what's up with Rolly, and I want to see that.
All right.
I vote.
I also nominate Rolly.
Okay. So, Jarek and Rolly, after your various inquiries yesterday, Rolly figuring out where the late Lady Janique is buried, and Jarek figuring out various points of interest as far as the party is concerned, you both find yourself lodging at the head chef of the manor, her residence. You spend a small amount of money to spend the night there, basically just being thrown in a guest room, if you can call it that, to sleep under a roof for the night. It is around maybe 6 or 7 in the morning at this point. You know, birds are chirping, people are kind of starting off their daily routine, again, kind of pushing for the preparations of the event that's going to take place this weekend. And as you both are kind of grumbling and getting ready, there is a small, rather unassuming child, a small girl, that brazenly just kind of walks into your room, her eyes kind of darting from one to the other, finding Jarek, who is certainly the most colorful at this point, and she kind of nods her head at you, looking a little bit perplexed, goes, "Are you a bard?"
He's not bad. He tries very hard to be a bard.
Excuse you, I am renowned throughout Child's Kingdom. Young lady, would you care for a tune? He'll flourish his lute.
She kind of like cocks her head to the side, looks over at the small exchange that you two have, and then looks you up and down again. Ma says bards are shitbags, that they leave problems and skirt away in the night. Is that true?
Well, we each live our own truth. I suppose it would depend on which bard you were talking about. But, you know, I have several famous songs, and he'll just start to, like, strum a little bit. Surely you've heard at least one of them.
If I had heard them, I would know you. I've never seen you play.
How
never heard
old
your
are
song.
you, little girl?
I'm 9. How old are you?
Considerably older than you, and I've got much more respect for my elders than you seem to. You don't simply walk into an adult room and start shooting your mouth off as if you're one of us. Did they not teach manners here?
She looks around the room that you guys are in currently, and it very much appears that it is used mostly as a pantry at this point, though where the food would be is rather sparse. Jarek having learned yesterday that there's potential food problem kind of filling the town itself. But she kind of looks around at the empty shelves and the kind of empty vases and jars and whatnot. Kind of looks down at you. An adult room? Dwarf, this is a pantry.
It serves as our room, and we're in it. Regardless, if we were in a privy, we would still require some modicum of respect from a 9-year-old girl.
Anyway, I've been sent in here to wake you up and get you out so my mother can...
We're awake. Good day, little girl.
How rude.
Exactly.
Turning around, she, puts her little chin up, kind of puffs her tiny little chest out, and just marches out of the room as in a little defiant manner, leaving you two alone.
I happen to think your songs are quite good, Bard.
Thank you, Roly. What a petulant little shit.
Well, what do we have on the agenda for today?
If we have time for it, I think we can head out. I believe you were able to discover the location of the grave.
Yes, quite. About that. She's been buried for 2 months. What sort of autopsy am I supposed to do on a liquefying corpse?
Well, if we're in luck, she may not be too gooey. At the very least, I could be wrong, but most poisons will leave certain signs after death. I know.
Indeed.
There was a fellow from Thrice Tower that turned most horrendous shades after he ate some bad berries. So.
Well, that will certainly be on the to-do list. Didn't quite see grave robber as being one of my job titles, but what the mother wills.
No, we are simply tending the graves.
It's a matter of perspective now, isn't it?
That's how I sleep at night, Rolly. So yeah, it's all about perspective.
I tend to employ alcohol, but self-fulfilling lies are also helpful. Let's go see what this brat's mother made us for breakfast.
She may be a brat, but her mother is giving us a place to stay. We should at least be civil.
Oh, of course, I'll be nothing but civil.
And Jarek will take a minute to prestidigitate any grime off of himself, kind of blast it Rolly a little bit and knock some dust off.
So if you two are leaving your pantry bedroom, there's really only a few rooms at this house, the main room being the largest to kind of fill out the structure. As you step out, and there's a little counter in the middle that functions more or less as kind of the gathering point of the entire building, you see the 9-year-old girl that you had dealt with before, and there appears to be 2 plates, a loaf of bread and a small bit of dried meat on it, and she's kind of stood on the other side of the counter kind of eyeing you, and you see her fingers gently pushing the plate. She goes, "Oh, I was told to give you these meals by my mother. Whoops!" And then she pushes the plates off of the counter, sending both of the rolls of bread and the dried meat onto the more or less a dirt floor. And then she just kind of shrugs at you.
That's a very childish thing to do, but I think you'll appreciate that I've eaten much worse than your mother's dried cooking off the floor. I find it quite delicious, I'm sure. Reach down and I'll pick it up and start eating my breakfast.
Jarek doesn't take this sitting down here. He'll kind of squat down like he's going to start picking stuff up as he's still just kind of idly thonking against his loot there, and do a quick prestidigitate across like the bottom of her dress and shoes, and just splatter them with like food remnants and juice or whatever else is, and just get it filthy, just stains deep into the fabric.
So the rather simple kind of burlap dress that she wears, very much showcasing her position in the common folk of folk. That's an odd term. She kind of looks down as you send this splatter out, the bottom of her dress catching a sizable splat of, I guess, food residue and grime and things of that nature. She kind of twists her head to the side a little bit. You see, like, the emotions on her face kind of going through various stages before she looks back up at you. She goes, "Ha ha ha ha! I like you."
Yes, well, if you don't keep your manners in line, I shall make sure that you do. Be off with you, child.
Shrugging, kind of like looking down at her dress, kind of like swinging back and forth to let some of the grime kind of flick onto the floor. She kind of like tilts her head one last time. "I was supposed to tell you that my mother is short-handed, so if you're looking for work, you can seek her out and work in the kitchens, but I'm done." And then she turns around and goes to leave.
She's going to make someone a good wife one day. Very spirited, that girl.
Yeah, and Jarek will whisper over to Rolly, if she does any more of that shit, I'm gonna suggest her out into the woods for the rest of the day.
Well, we best get going before you send a girl off into the woods alone by herself.
Thinking back, would Rolly have told Jarek everything he found out, the graveyard position, that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And we slept in a closet. We would have been real close.
Yes, wow.
What are your dreams, Rolly?
All right, Rolly. Look, before we head up there, I can try to disguise myself as a servant, if you want. But with you being a priest, I think we can get in there quite easily. Perhaps I could say that the late lady's family had saved my uncle's life, and I wanted to pay my respects or something. I don't know.
But you're the servant.
Yes, and you're a priest who is performing a holy duty. I think that might get us past any potential questions.
I think your bullshittery arts far exceed mine. I'll take your lead. It sounds good to me. What could possibly go wrong?
Fair enough. And then I guess we head out to the graveyard.
Okay. As you go to leave the building, going through the rather rudimentary plank wood door, you are, I guess we'll say, Jarek, you are heading out the door first. As the door is opened, you are immediately met with a kind of young, scrawny looking, kind of passable young man. It's clear that, he's a laborer, works in the fields, stuff of that nature, kind of callous skin with various pockmarks on them. He's not a bad-looking dude, but certainly had a rough life. And he is eagerly kind of approaching you. Have you not disguised yourself at this point, correct?
No.
Okay. But as you are leaving the door, he kind of almost reaches out to grab your hand. He goes, "Are you the traveling bard, yes?"
I am known by many names, but yes, I am a purveyor of the finer arts.
I don't know if the gods are going to grace me with a gift today, but I must ask you, bard, my glorious bard, I hope to God that you have seen the woman that I seek. I'm Edwin. I'm sorry, I do not mean to press too soon, but have you met a woman named Victoria in your travels? She has elegant golden hair. It goes down to her waist, and she likes to braid flowers in it in the morning. She disappeared a few months ago, and she left me a note, and she did not tell me where she was going, and I have you seen someone named Victoria?
Can I do a little history check on that? Because offhand, I don't recall.
I'd like to do an insight check just to see his demeanor, to see if.
Okay, go ahead and roll for me then.
A little odd.
A little odd. Isn't this how you inquire about your lost love?
Yeah.
Haven't you played Skyrim?
Champion. Okay. And then, Jarek, give me a history check.
Oh, I'm not. Sorry, I forgot.
You're fine. Well, I'll go ahead and answer your question there, Rolly. As odd as it may be, it very much does appear that this, he's probably early 20s at the latest, maybe late teens, that he has been waiting here patiently all morning, kind of amping himself up, and that his rather aggressive approach is probably just coming out of nervousness or, I don't know, kind of raw emotion more than any sort of kind of strange, red flaggy kind of demeanor. But, Jarek, I can save you a roll if you would like.
13 was my
13. Roll. Okay.
Yeah.
If you are asking if you, as, the player, have ever met a Victoria, no one has kind of ever popped up in the game named Victoria. If you are asking if Jarek has ever met a Victoria, who knows? Jarek gets around, so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't recognize any Victorias, so.
Mm-hmm.
My young lad, I can't say that I recall any Victorias, but when did you say you last saw her?
It was, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. It was right when we were bringing in the last of the stock, and we used to meet behind the grove tree out in the field, and she left me a note instead of coming to meet me that last time. I knew that she was talking about going to the city, but I didn't think she would leave without me, and I can't leave, and it ruins my heart to think that she would leave without telling me, but I thought that maybe someone might have passed her on the road.
Tell me, young man, can you read and write?
Not, expertly, but I can get by.
Well, here is, until shuffle around and pull out a couple of pieces of parchment, hand it to the guy, and just spare quill, whatever ink. Here, give me the best description that you can spell, or even if it's not spelled correctly, I can figure it out, and let me know how you met, some of the sweet nothings that you would whisper to her. Tell me of your longing, of your love for her. I have things to do today, but whenever I come back, I shall look them over. If you can find me again, we'll be here. And perhaps I can weave a tale for you that I can sing as we travel across Folk so that she may know of your love. And perhaps we can find out some information and send her this way, or I can contact you directly. Just give me 1 second. He'll grab the guy's face in his hands. All right, yeah, I got you in my head.
And if none of that works and she never shows up, I'm plenty of fish in the sea and all that. You're a good-looking young fellow. You're quite young. Find many other women. Shouldn't it come to that?
Master Dwarf, you've never seen a woman so beautiful as Victoria. There is no other woman in this world that I would rather be with. She strikes a chord in my heart that resonates into my soul. It's something that I am never going to forget and not long for late into my life.
Good luck with that.
Strikes a chord within your soul, you say, yes.
Master Bard, it's not the info that I wish that you had, but I guess it's better than nothing, and I will work tirelessly to try and do my love justice in words so that you may sing about her so that others would recognize her beauty.
I think I can definitely do that. One just quick question for you, lad. Did she have, like, big dreams or aspirations?
She wanted to be an actress, and I told her that she had a rather large dream for a rather small girl, but she didn't like to listen to me all that much. She was very strong-headed, but her father was rather aggressive about not letting her leave, not letting her go to the city, and she always talked about going to the Queen's Coast, performing in the Golden Circus, and then I imagine that she's doing rather well there, because she has not returned, and her father will not tell me anything about where she has gone or how she is doing, but I hope that she is getting all the attention that she seeked.
Well, good to know. Yes, just write down what you can, leave it for me, and I will see what I can do for you.
Thank you, Master Bard. I did not get your name.
Oh, and he'll flare out his cape dramatically, strum a chord. I am the almighty Jarek Dissel of Corel.
Thank you, Jarek. I will get you the parchment as soon as I am done.
Wonderful. You have a lovely day. And I need to pay my respects to one who has recently departed. Do you happen to know the name of whoever tends to the cemetery?
I imagine that the groundskeepers of the manor would do that, but they only go out there every so often. It's a rather fair distance, so I don't know if they're out there now, but you could go up to the manor and ask.
I shall do just that. Thank you so much.
Anytime. I will seek you out.
Here at this house. I don't know where I'll be around town, but catch me here later.
I will do. And then he just kind of like sits down at a nearby stump and begins scribbling frantically.
Once we get out of earshot, Rolly, you think I could charge that kid like 50 gold?
I don't think the boy's going to make 50 gold in the next 5 or 6 years of hard labor, Jarek. This one might need to be pro bono.
I'm not going to do that to him. I'm married.
But, you gave him hope, and that's something. She's probably already on... What was his name?
Edwin.
He's probably on Edwin number 4 by now. Actress and all.
I didn't want to break the poor lad, but, yeah.
He really should learn to lie better. That was his first mistake, telling her the truth that her ideas were bad. Leave that to the parents, not the boyfriend.
That's how I won over Halaski.
Exactly. I'll tell you the lies that won over Marjorie one day. Didn't keep her, though. Maybe there's something to that.
We'll see.
Heading off to
And
the
then I
gravesite at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, it's about a half-day's trip there, so you'd probably spend the morning kind of hiking through the fields, through a small grove and a clearing, and then eventually getting to the graveyard that functions for the entirety of the Solomon family, kind of, immediate people connected to them. But yeah, so you take about a half day to get there, and then a half day's travel back, so you'd spend the majority of the day going to do that. So, alrighty, we'll hop over to Thor then, which we are rewinding time back to yesterday at this point, because it's yesterday evening for you and Valorant. But yes, as you are led to the side of the kind of grand hall, you are brought through a very small door compared to your size. You kind of have to shrug your shoulders and stoop your head, and you're brought into a much more modest hallway. It is certainly built for help and servants and, a more work-orientated passenger. But as Daniel leads you through the small door and down the hallway, not paying you any mind as he continues to lead you, eventually he brings you down to kind of a basement level of the manor, where there is a rather large kitchen that is currently kind of active, is the correct word to use. Off to the side of this, there's kind of a small cove dug into the wall, where there is a kind of rough table, a few chairs, and what you would imagine is the not up to snuff food kind of gathered in small plates around this table that servants are kind of walking by, taking bites out of and munching on as they are doing their work. But Daniel would kind of stop there, gesture with his hand, go, "All right, are you going to gorge yourself?"
Not really. I'm not very hungry at the moment. What, do you expect me to just get on all fours and just eat?
That'd be quite the sight.
I mean, if you want me to sit down and wait, I can sit down and wait for whatever, but I'm not very hungry at the moment.
Well, I don't know what to do with you besides lead you to food, so I guess you can sit and wait for your master to return.
Don't we both?
I don't think that you and I are used in the same way, Goliath.
You're right. I think you're used for worse things than I am, but I guess it's all a matter of perspective.
Yes, you are a crude club used to get rid of nuisances, while I am a elite servant that is trusted at the highest level. We are very similar, you and I.
See, there is one word in there that you are that I'm not. Not a servant.
Call yourself what you want.
Call yourself what you want. Doesn't change much.
Well, I shall leave you to do whatever you want. If they call for you, I shall come retrieve you.
Sounds good, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turns and leaves. And you notice that Daniel thinks very highly of himself. Full chest, the kind of little linen puffy bit kind of prominently poking out. His hands almost constantly clasped in front of him as he moves around, almost kind of drifting across the ground versus taking deliberate steps. But he turns, pushes his chin up, and leaves you be.
Did I see that any of my words affected him?
Give me an insight check.
Yeah. As we discussed.
All right. clearly there is a chord of emotion that you touched upon. Whether or not you really sank a decisive word in there is questionable, but he is not as collected as Lord Solomon might be.
Gotcha. And then I'm just like sitting at a table in the kitchen with like a bunch of
it's a
other
room kind of off of the kitchen, but there's no wall between you and the kitchen. It's kind of an open area, so you're watching servants kind of running around, bringing back platters, bringing up food. There seems to be this rather middle-aged woman who's kind of in charge of the whole operation, yelling at people, getting pinkies in the little soups and getting a lick and yelling at some more people, kind of moving around the ferocity of the kitchen.
Can I just try and like listen into conversations if I see like two people exchanging words? Like just kind of sit there and observe. Yeah.
Okay. It's a really loud environment, being like an active kitchen at this point. Lots of, pots and pans and dishes kind of clattering, people yelling and shouting over each other. So it's difficult to really sit and listen in focus on one conversation going back and forth. You can catch tidbits here and there. There's a few kind of foul words thrown at the various people that are being served, whether it's like, oh, they eat too much, or Nessa's third cup of wine, and like, that kind of thing, going back and forth. Nothing too violent or provocative. Is that the right word of using there? Fine. And so, it kind of goes on that way for a while. There's nothing that really, I guess, catches your ear where you're sat at. Eventually, though, as some time passes, a rather young-looking girl approaches you. Her eyes kind of a little bit perplexed as her, head tilts to the side, and she's looking you up and down. She stood about, 15 feet away or so, kind of just at the edge of the kitchen. She's currently working on an apple in her hand and doesn't say anything, but just kind of looks at you.
I'll just match her tilt.
She'll like slowly tilt her head the other way.
Just mirror.
Just kind of like squat down a little bit. Do you speak?
Most people do, yeah.
You're very weird.
Takes one to know one.
My ma says that I'm weird, that I'm twisted. I don't know what that means.
The weird I get, the twisted I don't know either.
Well, apparently I was born and my back was all twisted up like a corkscrew. And she kind of like turns around and you see that there's not an obvious disfigurement, but it's clear that she's like somewhat hunched over and a little bit, off from what a normal, healthy young girl would look like. Her back kind of arched and curved in a strange way. She kind of shrugs and goes, "It works though."
Looks like it.
She kind of starts making her way closer to you, like taking another bite of the apple.
I'm about a foot shorter than I probably should be.
Ma says you should drink milk.
I must have missed that memo.
Do you want some milk?
Sure.
Turns around and just scurries off into the kitchen. There's a little bit of shouting, and you hear her own kind of like piercing young girl shriek kind of cutting in for a moment. A few people kind of like dismissing her before eventually it kind of ceases, and she comes back out with a rather dented, not great looking cup, but it is full of a white liquid that somewhat appears to be milk, kind of handing it off to you.
You didn't get enough for two?
No. I should have. But you have this one. I can get whatever I want here. They spoil me rotten, because otherwise I scream at them.
Yeah, I got a little, it pierced.
It's effective. You should try it.
It's very effective. I can't do it. My voice is too low, so it just sounds like it gets cut out. So what's
I
your
had an
name?
uncle where he was kicked in the nuts by a donkey, and his voice went really high.
Yeah, what was his name?
I think it was Uncle Elmo? Yes,
Oh.
Uncle Elmo. I think he's
Uncle
dead.
Al.
He's probably dead. He doesn't visit anymore. I'm gonna get some milk.
What was your name?
I'm Gabby.
Gabby. Okay.
Do you have a name?
My name is Thor.
Thor the milkman. And she goes into the kitchen.
I will take a sniff of this milk to make sure that I'm not drinking some like sleeping potion or some shit.
Okay. Just give me a medicine check.
Sure. Hold on, let me look. I don't even know where that is on here. Oh, okay, it's not terrible. Hey, not terrible at all.
You know, it is certainly milk. You smell the slightest whiff that it is like just about to start going a little bit bad. Still totally drinkable, might have a little sting to it, but it's good.
It's fine. Drank worse.
True. But as you are left to eat some food and drink some milk, we'll hop back over to Lord Athelvane. So you are currently, again, this is the previous night that we have rewinded to, being led through the halls with Lord Solomon. You are going through the much more regal and presentable side of the manor. You would never be led through the the less than savory hallways that the servants would use. So there's lots of busts and portraits and various, I guess you could say, trophies or trinkets that have been collected. He'll occasionally point out a piece being like, oh, Lady Gavandra gave me this totem as a signal to this, that, and such and the other thing. Very much showcasing that he is rather proud of his accomplishments, but eventually leading you through the various hallways to the more private dining room. He opens up the door, and it's a rather large room. It's much smaller than the grand entrance room that you would move through, maybe being about 60 or 80 feet wide and about 30 or 40 feet across. There's a long table in the center, a grotesque amount of food covering the top of it. Various chickens and poultries and, game meat and fruit and a whole assortment of rather enticing looking food spread across its length. On the far side away from you, almost like a painting of the Last Supper, there is a plethora of rather dressed up male, like late-aged males. And you can assume by their demeanor and various coat of arms and stuff on the apparel that they wear that they are some sort of knight or servant or, I guess, warrior that Solomon employs. They all are armed, even at the lunch table, I suppose you can call it. But they all kind of look you up and down as you enter. They are right in the middle of some sort of laughter, some sort of joke has just been told on the right end of the table, where traditionally in Folk, if there is ever a north or south orientation of the dining room, which most are set up to be that way, the north side of the room is meant for, whoever is the, I guess, most prestigious patriarch, the lord, the king, that kind of thing, takes the north end of the room. And then the second in line, whether that's his wife or a valued guest or anything of that nature, would take the south side of the room. So over on the north side, the seat is empty where you assume Lord Solomon had been sat. On the south, your mother is sat at the other end of the table. She's kind of leaned, I guess you could say, daintily into her own hands, listening to whatever story had just been told. There's a rather faint, pleasant smile on her face as she's listening in. And on the left-hand side, to the seat just beside Lord Solomon, you see that your sister Genevieve is sat there, where last time you had seen them, she had been, a little rough and tumble. She always dressed appropriately, but never went above and beyond, always preferring, things that were easier to move around in than kind of the prim and proper dress that kind of stifled her movement. But she is, I guess you could say, drenched in higher apparel. There's obviously like a corset, and her hair's all done up, and there's a big frame dress kind of at the bottom of her, and it is clear that she is almost, I guess, showcased as an ornament and then decorated to match that. And she looks not so pleased at her seat as she is staring down at her plate, kind of removed from the situation entirely. But that is a scene that you were being led into.
So being led in here, I don't want to make any waves at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I will just follow Salamon's lead.
Mm-hmm.
But with the expectation, like, I guess as we come in, I might say, oh, wonderful, they're here. I must say hello before our meal starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like, the expectation is that he would kind of greet you into the room, but I was leaving you the chance in case you wanted to do anything before that, so.
I don't think so. I've still got my gift basket with me.
Okay.
I haven't been shown to a room yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming in with my glaive. I'm coming in full kit here.
If you want, it'd be rather appropriate that he could like take your weapon and stuff from you if you'd want, kind of store it somewhere so you're in a more of a presentable state.
Yeah, it would probably be customary to hand that off to someone, and that will be I'll ask them to take it to my room if I can't assume that they are already going to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's easily.
I imagine he's going to have a room for me.
Yep, it's the dungeons, but no, I'm kidding. But yeah, so is there anything else between that time that you want to make sure to get done?
I don't think so. Not at the moment.
Okay.
Like we're heading into this little cocktail party, and I'm playing it cool.
Okay.
I will say that whoever I encounter, especially other peers of the blood, but even to a lesser extent, the help, Valoran is just gregarious in the extreme, and just smiling and trying to portray just warmth and grace to literally everyone, whatever their station.
Okay. So as you are led into the room and get kind of a glimpse of what's in front of you, Lord Solomon kind of steps forward, kind of clears his throat, gets a little bit more of a, I guess, an announcer-style voice. He goes, "My good sirs and ladies, we have been graced with the appearance of Lord Athelvane after a very long and wearisome journey. As soon as your name is mentioned, you see both your mother and Genevieve's eyes dart to you, and you get a mixture of a response. Your mother looks over where she kind of had a, subtly pleasant smile on her face, is immediately beaming. Her eyes are bright. She looks like there's a big flash of excitement across her face. And then as you look over to Genevieve, you see that she's looked up from her plate, kind of like a fist on her cheek as she looks over at you. And there's a quick, small, almost undetectable moment of excitement, quickly followed by a kind of muted, masked, unamused look. Which, take however you want. But, as soon as you are announced, your mother kind of leaps from her chair. She is always kind of one to be done up and appropriately dressed for any sort of social events, so she very much owns the higher class dressing that she is wearing at this point. It's not hitting you in any sort of way that this is something that she would not normally partake in. But she throws her arms out wide. There's clearly already tears beginning to kind of well at the bottom of her eyes as she starts making her way across the room, kind of, the loud footsteps of her heels, going across the floor. Lord Solomon kind of stepping to the side to allow her to come greet you. The knights and the men on the other side of the table kind of take a moment to glance over at you, kind of see what's up, realize that you are being greeted by somebody else and not paying you much mind as Genevieve keeps her place at the table.
I will embrace Mama and stay within stay within the limits of what is generally considered polite in terms of public displays of affection. Just, maybe like the cheek kisses or to that extent, and just sort of support her and try to lend her some strength in this moment. I'll give her hand 3 quick squeezes, distinct, and then just kind of hold her out at arm's length by her shoulders, and Mama, it's so good to see you.
My boy, my boy. Oh, your face is so rough. You haven't shaved today, have you? Have you gotten my letters? I've gotten your letters, and I'm just kind of like. Yeah.
It seems like it's been forever. I'm afraid that I'm not very presentable. The road of Giles is. Whew. Well, we'll have time to talk about all that later. This is for you and Ginny. And he holds out his gift basket.
She kind of like grabs it from you, removing her hands from you, kind of looking at the basket. She gives it a very quick look before she kind of looks back up at you. She's like, "Oh, you're such a gentleman, and we can overlook the stubble. That's fine. It's been a very tiring road, but we should get that taken care of at some point. Yes, but you're taller than I remember. Have you grown? You must have grown."
I was in my 20s when I left, Mother, and I'm still in my 20s. It's only been a few months, but I know it's been too long.
But as she's like still holding the basket, she kind of like looks over at Lord Solomon, kind of like giving him a very pleasant, almost like not a fake smile, but a more less emotional smile before turning back to you. Goes, "You must come meet everyone. We have to introduce you to everybody, and your sister." And she like turns around. She's clearly, this is the most excited that she has been in quite a long time, and it's removing some of her usual, graceful demeanor, though that is still very prevalent in, her mentioning of your appearance and whatnot. But she quickly turns and begins leading you back towards the table with the gift basket in hand.
Yeah, I'll follow her.
Okay. So, everyone, all the knights on the other side of the table, including your sister, all stand up as you're approaching. Your mother kind of sets the basket down and almost kind of taking over the, the leadership that Lord Solomon was giving you. And she quickly begins, just spouting off the names of these men, Sir this and that, and Sir such and such, and their title and their place and that kind of thing. Kind of taking a few moments to give some sort of tidbit about who they are. But eventually it gets to your sister at the end, and, she kind of gestures at your sister to introduce her, and then pauses, and your sister just gives you a very polite smile and goes, "Welcome home, brother."
Good to see you, Ginny.
Always. And then she sits back down.
Well, Mama, there will be time enough for me to get cleaned up to folk standards. I'm sure that they will show me my quarters after our luncheon.
So at this point, everyone would kind of be retaking their seats, and you'd be kind of pulled into the fold of whatever conversation was currently going on. Depending on how much you want to, poke and pry or, ask questions of that nature, eventually they would start, not plying you for information, but, asking about your journey and where you came from and where you, what your plans are and things that you saw and things like how Giles' kingdom was, that, those rebel rousers, that kind of thing.
So Valor and I will participate fully in the conversation and enjoy the lunch, enjoy the refreshments, have in spite of the ridiculous amount of food, just have the polite amount that one is expected to eat, and tell them stories to validate all their prejudices and their expectations. Starting with how depraved and slimy the nobility of Roy Mizev are, and then moving seamlessly into how Giles is full of roughnecks, and being there was a challenge every morning and every night. And that I'm so happy to be back in Folke amongst my countrymen and amongst my peers who understand which forks are for which entrees, for which courses of a meal, and really just work hard to kind of ingratiate myself and validate their feelings and tell them stories that they will approve of the last several months.
So a quick point of order is about 5 or 10 minutes after you were brought into the room, you would see a familiar face coming in. It would be Sir Florent Lemoyne, the man that you met on the road and had left you previously. He approaches you as if he had never met you, introducing himself properly to you and not giving you any sort of indication that something is awry, but very decisively making sure that, like, the point is taken that he doesn't know you and you don't know him.
Point taken. Valoran regards him politely, but less, like, very carefully measuring the amount of interaction depending on the person's station. And so being that when he introduces himself as Sir Lemoyne, Valoran just sort of gives a stately greeting and Sir Lemoyne, very good to make your acquaintance.
So during this time period, it's probably, maybe an hour or two. Is there anything that you want to make sure gets done or things get asked about, things of that nature?
I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to at least talk to my mother as close to alone as we can get.
Okay.
Which is, I'm expecting a lot of challenge on that front, but, even if it's just like going into the drawing room after the meal, or trying to make some excuse about going for a walk in the gardens, or something just to say, I want to catch up with you and tell you everything that's happened, and so on and so forth. I also want to when the meal starts to break up, when we've had our last course and people are standing up and they're moving on to whatever their next activity is, I want to fish the dragon chess piece charm out of the gift basket and go hand it to Genevieve myself, if there's a half good opportunity to do that.
Okay. Yeah, there's certainly that wouldn't be anything like out of the ordinary, so you can do that. Is there a certain way you're doing it, certain demeanor that you are putting forth?
Sort of like closing it in my fist, and then just trying to find a moment to approach her that isn't going to attract undue attention, and just say, Jenny, it really is good to see you. I hope we can catch up soon. I know things are going to be busy with the celebration, but I didn't want to wait another moment before giving you this little coming home present from myself. And then he kind of opens his fingers and the charm will drop out, and just very pointedly, like, presenting this chess piece to her.
Okay. So as, like, Lord Solomon is kind of engaged in a conversation with one of the knights, he's still beside you, but, not currently listening in, she allows a bit of her mask to slip ever so slightly, and it reveals a bit more irritation, I guess you could say, as you speak to her and then drop the piece. She definitely is still keeping an appearance enough that if anyone glanced over, it wouldn't be out of the norm, but with you guys having a more quiet moment, she kind of plays into it ever so slightly, looking at the piece, kind of listening to your words. Brother, I am so very glad that you did not waste a moment, and I am happy that you were always thinking of me, holding up the piece to you and kind of giving you a bit of a cold delivery.
I just sort of kind of close my eyes and smile and nod for a second, and well, I hope I can tell you all about my travels very soon, and hear all about the last several months that you have had.
Yes, I have quite a bit to tell you, and I imagine it will be over hopefully a bit more private setting than today.
At that statement, like, Valoran, the mask fully goes back up, and he's like, "Of course, carry on," and then moves back to toward his seat or toward his mother.
Mm-hmm. I'm debating about the mother thing. I think, like, pushing to have, like, an entire walk in the garden alone, you would probably get pushed back on, but, like, having a quick moment with her, like, as everything's dispersing is probably more reasonable. So, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, just as much as we can, just getting some space between us and other people, try to get our backs to a wall so that we aren't going to have someone walking up behind us.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just sort of stand off to the side like a couple of wallflowers where we can see whoever might be walking up, and just like we're having a friendly chat.
Mm-hmm.
Might have a drink in my hand that I can swirl and smile and take drinks from as we're speaking.
Yeah, so your mother is your mother, but she is certainly not dumb in any regards. She's very deft with, how folk works. So she leads you to a smaller portrait of the uncle that is being celebrated this weekend, with kind of the rough excuse to get you alone, regarding you with the tale and, what's going to happen in the reenactment, allowing you two to be kind of separated from the group, off to the side of the room, and kind of a one-off discussion.
Being very careful to just keep that mask up, smiling, sipping from my drink, maybe like gesturing with it as a means of holding it in front of my face periodically to sort of mask my words. And I start out saying, "I got your message, Mama. I know that Ginny is not very happy with me. I wish I could have gotten here quicker."
And she's like smiling and playing along with the bit to make sure that any sort of glance would be met with a normal scene. She kind of nods along and then looks up at you with a bit more emotion in her eyes. Like, I guess controlled emotion is the right word to say. She goes, "Well, if you got my message, then I do not know why you are here, my boy."
"Mama, really? You think I would not come? You raised me. You think so little of me."
"I hoped that the lesson your father paid would teach you something."
"Indeed, that it's good to address one's problems head on. What is going on here? And keep that gift basket close, by the way. Don't let anyone take it from you."
Glancing back over at everybody and kind of seeing where the gift basket is, she returns back to you. "I do not know, I don't pretend to know what Lord Solomon has planned for you, but clearly he means to take our titles and our land and our honor from us, and whether or not that ends with you in the ground, I don't know, but being left with absolutely nothing might just be worse."
He's trying to buy me off. He wants to fund the Chevaliers and clear the debt in exchange for everything else.
You see her kind of like look up at you, clearly being privy to this information for the first time, kind of looking a little bit perplexed, staying silent for a moment. "That's a lot less awful than I thought it would be."
It's awful enough, Mama.
Considering I thought he was going to chop your head off as soon as you came back, I think I'll take this one.
Just help Ginny to understand. I need the two of you to play a part for a while longer. I'm going to get us out of this somehow.
My boy, you are not a hero. I am very proud of you, and I love you, and I want to see you thrive. But this is not the time for some boastful theatrics where you rescue the damsels from distress. This is a time to keep your head on your shoulders.
Noted.
Your father never listened to me, and see where it got him.
Believe it or not, I understand how you feel. But just tell me, is there anything that you have overheard somewhere that one could begin?
She kind of like glances back, trying to sparse out her glances enough so it doesn't appear suspicious, returning back to you, kind of looking a little bit shifty. I'm not one for intrigue. I try to stay out of court gossip as much as I can, though it is rather enticing sometimes. But there is something off about the late lady's departure. It was not handled correctly.
I suspected as much. He holds his glass up in front of his face for a second and then takes a drink.
Two days after she died, they were at our door. Tell me what grieving husband waits 2 days to go collect his next wife?
One that is not grieving at all.
Mm-hmm.
What did you hear about what killed her?
She apparently died trying to give birth. But I never saw her belly grow, so maybe she's some miraculous mother that does not get pregnancy weight, but I think it's lies.
Very good. Very good. That's something. Where does it keep you?
We are being handled very politely. That's one thing that I must give Lord Solomon despite his aggression towards our household. We are up in his actual personal residential wing. I have the room right beside him, and Genevieve is not sharing a room with him yet, because he's not an animal. But we are in good company. We are being housed and fed and properly entertained. I'm sure you will be as well.
That is something. Well, I have indeed learned some lessons from Father. Try to have some faith, Mama.
It's hard to have faith when your husband is dead and your son is trying to get himself killed.
I won't. I
Better
promise
not.
you that.
And if you do, shave your face. Look presentable.
In a fully volumed conversation tone now, he says, "Of course, Mama. I will shave as soon as I get back to the room. I didn't mean to embarrass you. I'm sorry."
She kind of nods along curtly and then returns to kind of bring you back into the fold of the dispersing party-ish. But anything else you want to take care of in this moment, sir?
I want to try really hard, given that this is a hostage situation, to clock the people that I see that seem to be working, that are not actually enjoying the party, that are, playing house detective, or that
there to make sure that everything goes well.
Yeah, that whisper to Salomon, or that are really just, yeah, exactly. As well as the layout.
it would be rather easy to spot that a certain knight named Sir Millet is kind of the attentive dog for Lord Solomon. He is keeping a very keen eye on both your sister and you and your mother, never doing anything as brazen as, hurting you, but making sure that you are functioning within the parameters.
Got it. Does he does he look like, what are we talking about here? Tank DPS?
He's a middle-aged man, slightly graying hair, kind of down to his shoulders. A rather weathered appearance, maybe showcasing that he's been around the block. Any sort of stories or tidbits that you had got about him would be these very renowned warriors, very respectable, very chivalrous. Oh my god, can't say that. And that he firmly, basically, all of the wealth and lands and titles that he owns, he basically owes to Lord Solomon. So if there is anyone he was loyal to, there's no question. But, he looks like he can handle himself, but he's not some righteous holy warrior from above that's gonna smite you in a singular moment.
Got it. Then all I can think of right now is just to continue playing the good party guest. And probably staying relatively close to my mother, but if there's moments to, again, like, go back to those other guys and try to give them another funny story about Giles' kingdom, or any just like who's who here. They may not be terribly important since we're still several days out from the party, but just lay of the land type thing.
Okay. Jarek and Rolly, you awake there, people?
What? Huh?
Okay. So
peaceful as the grave, as it were.
So, yes, Jarek and Rolly, at around this time, you'd been finishing up the trek over to the graveyard, again, taking about half a day, leaving in the morning, kind of getting there roughly around noon. The scene that you were walking up on is, a gated, graveyard is the only term to use for it. It's rather large. It holds maybe about 30 or 40 gravestones or large structures within the gated part of it. There's, a tall, maybe 10, 15-foot fence, wrought iron with spikes on the top, kind of matching that Gothic architecture that Folke is known for. As you approach, it's more or less kind of left in this open field. There's, flowers and tall grass kind of waving around it, but it is very much kind of isolated from any sort of, structure or building or place. Off in the distance at this point, you can kind of see the manor still up on the hill. So it's still within sight, but rather far away, not to the point that anyone would, be able to see you or what you were doing. But that is the situation that you're approaching. You're about, 50 to 100 feet away from it. You don't see any movement or guards or anything out of the ordinary, just a well-maintained graveyard.
Rolly, I think I'd like to take a quick scout of the edge, kind of look around, see if we can expect any company anytime soon.
Yes, do it quickly. It appears as if we're alone for the moment.
I shall power walk as quickly as I can.
Okay. You're just going to go around the perimeter?
Yeah, make a lap around the perimeter.
Okay.
I would like to see if there's any gaps in the fence that maybe the bars have broken where we don't have to use the main gate.
Mm-hmm. So anything else?
And clock and see if I can maybe find any tracks around the perimeter.
Okay. So go ahead and give me a perception check.
Would I know that he's... Oh, never mind.
Very good. Oh, damn. So as you do a quick lap around, there is it's kind of like a wagon treaded road leading up to the main gate, where clearly any sort of, cart that is moving a person or a body or material would use that road, use that gate. There's also another gate on the other side of the graveyard, much smaller, kind of more for, a singular person to pass through. But doing a quick perimeter check, again, you don't see any sort of movement or people or guards or anything of that nature, but the gate, or not the gate, the fence around the graveyard is very well kept. There aren't any bent bars or gaps or, dilapidated sections. It is straight, strong, true and true all the way around.
All right. Getting back to Rolly, I'd relay the smaller gate in the back, and that one I think is on less advantageous visual from the manor. Maybe best to go in from there.
I'll follow your lead.
Oh, pray to your mother, Rolly. Let's hope we don't get caught.
Obvious joke, I'll leave aside.
So you go to the smaller gate on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay. You are met with the gate itself is maybe about 7 or 8 feet tall, not fully meeting the height of the spiked fence. There is a very thick and very deterrent lock on the gate itself, built into the gate, not just like chains around it, that is very prominently placed, you would guess, so that if anyone comes to approach it, they'd be like, that shit locked.
So, quick question. Are these crypts, mausoleums, or are they just buried in the ground?
There's various amounts of that. There are above ground crypts, there are monuments, there's small gravestones. It's kind of a spattering of all of the above. There's maybe 4 or 5 like prominent giant, or not giant, but sizable like crypts that you would walk into within the perimeter.
Did we get any notion as to where she was buried?
So there is, like, a lot of the commoners didn't have any sort of clear idea because they didn't attend. It was, kind of a higher up kind of thing. But the loose information that you would gather is that, there hasn't been a burial here in some time. So if you're looking for it, it'd be the freshest one.
Rolly here, help me with my pack real quick. And Jarek will go in to pull out the pan flute of opening.
Indeed.
I think I was just going to blast it open. No.
I cast Shatter. So, Rolly, as you watch Jarek dig into his bag and produce the small, thin metal rod that you had stolen from TikTok all those ages ago, you hear him deftly create the most abhorrent noise you've heard in quite some time as he fiddles his way through this, but just enough to actually activate the magical properties of the item. And you hear, it's kind of a hard sense to describe, but the notes that you play and the sounds that you make feel more physical, more resonant than you would normally subscribe to any sort of musical implement. And then you feel the weight of it kind of resting on you. And then there's a very distinct click, click, clack. And you see the lock of the gate pop open, the hinge that holds it in place kind of like loosely swing just enough to reveal that the door is now open.
Well done, Jarek. It's a level of subtlety I've not expected of you in a while.
Valoran was kind enough to impress upon me how likely we are to be executed for pretty much everything we do. I've taken it to heart.
It is the motivator, isn't it?
Well, we're not going to get rich out of this. And as the two go through the gate, I'd like to try and close that gate and maybe jam a rock in front of it so it doesn't swing open again, but it's not locked.
Okay. It's doable.
And okay, really, why don't you take the left side? I'll take the right side. Let's see if we can find something.
So I'm gonna immediately look for the largest. I mean, this is Lord Solomon's land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a crypt that stands out more than the rest?
Yeah, I'm not going to make you roll for it because it'd be kind of frivolous. There is a very large, bright white marble crypt, right in the center of the property. It has various kind of angelic representations of like statues kind of hanging over the edge, mimicking like pouring water out of like very large pitchers. Very elegantly maintained. There's no vegetation kind of like growing up the sides. There's no crack in any of the blocks that make up the building, and there is clearly rather thick tracks right in front of it that would indicate some sort of cart or wagon had moved in front of it sometime in the recent time frame. Words difficult? Yes.
Eric, I think that's where we're going.
That
I'll
makes a
take
lot
the
of
left side of that, and you take the right side of that.
Is there any like, can I look for a secret entrance into it?
Go ahead and give me an investigation check.
And I'll. Are we at it now?
Yeah.
I'll begin a ritual detect magic. Actually,
Okay.
forget that. I'll just cast it.
Okay. Investigation of 9, sir.
So good.
Okay. So, as Rolly, you watch your companion begin prodding around the perimeter of this structure, you cast Detect Magic. What is the radius of this again? Give me a quick reminder. Is it within 10 feet?
30.
30, okay.
From me.
Gotcha. As you cast it, you feel a presence above, and you look up and you realize that in kind of a ceiling fashion over the gate of this graveyard, there is a barrier, a magical barrier that covers the top, so that if anything had attempted to go up and over or out and over, there would be problems there. So you are able to detect that above you. As you reach out into the crypt that you're in, it's not that you don't detect nothing. It's that potentially the material or some other magical spell or some other effect is preventing you from detecting anything inside while outside.
Getting a sense of something inside, but won't know until we're there.
Well, this thing is solid fucking stone. I can't.
Does it have a door? I mean,
Yeah, so on the front side, there are 2 thick stone doors that basically meet seamlessly in the middle. And again, it's not as crude as the other. There's a very intricate heart-shaped locking mechanism on the front that you can see the metal bars of kind of lacing back and forth between where the heart would separate for the door to open.
that trick with the lock. You got another one in your pocket.
Yeah, we've got plenty at least for what we need.
And may the mother bless you and guide you in your endeavors. And he has guidance.
Okay.
So.
As you play out the tune with the flute or the panpipe or whatever it's called, sending out that same kind of resonant tone, you let it rest for just a moment in the air before you hear this more intricate, more involved mechanism shifting around. There's like click, 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 clack, click, 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 clack, and then eventually as one of the 2 bars that pass through the gap slides out of place and unlocks.
Conniving bastard. And he'll just keep playing, and just beads of sweat dripping down as a glare burns its way into the lock.
So as you play out the tone, and you feel it resonate and hit the air again, you hear the mechanism, but twofold this time. They're almost mimicking each other, just echoing each other slightly as you hear click, 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 clack, 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 clack. And then as one bar recedes, you see the other one slide back into a locked position.
What the shit? I don't know. What do you think, Rolly? Could you help me take a look and figure out if this is a fruitless endeavor, or if it just needs to keep going?
Yeah, can I look at the nature of the lock and see if I can figure out any way that maybe we can...
Yeah, why don't whoever has the best investigation, give me investigation with advantage.
+0 for me, so...
That'll be me then.
Okay.
Oh God. And I'm gonna add that bless to it, probably.
Guidance, yeah. 1d4.
Okay.
It's at 20, so I guess I don't.
So as you kind of, realize there's more to this lock than meets the eye, you both lean in, and Jarek, as you're getting distracted by the light kind of like bouncing off of the marble in your face, Rolly kind of like shakes you to get your attention, bringing you back into focus. You guys realize there are 6 distinct protrusions from the outside of the heart, 3 on each side poking out, various levels of protrusion for each button. I guess button is the best way to describe them, where the top one might be more pushed out than the next one, and so on and so forth. That if you were to mess with the mechanism or push the button, you would realize that they correlate with the bars sliding back and forth.
Okay. Rolly, this is some kind of mechanical bullshit that I don't know about.
Yeah, just let me Google real quick and I'll figure out the answer. I'm shit at these things.
Don't Google yourself right now. At least turn away from me if you're gonna do that. So realizing this, so there's 6 buttons I gotta manipulate.
Yes.
To open this thing.
Yes.
In the sense that I have to use up to 6 opening chime things, or I just need to manipulate these bad boys enough that it opens.
With the nat 20, I'll give you a bit of leeway here and kind of express a bit more detail. The intention you would quickly gather is that certain buttons have to be pressed for the mechanism to fully unlock without locking itself with the other mechanism.
When we cast unlock, would we have seen the mechanism to the sequence of buttons as they press?
So the buttons haven't changed as far as you were aware, because you looked after you had tried the unlocking. So right now, 2 of them are pushed out on the left side, with the middle one being pushed in, and all 3 of them on the right side are pushed out. That's the state that it's currently in.
Okay, Rolly. I guess we just start playing with the buttons.
Yeah, so there's, on the left side, there's 2 that we can push in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll press both of those in.
Rolly, give me a wisdom check. It's so nice when Thor isn't the one rolling wisdom checks. So as you and Jarek are kind of like trying to hive mind the solution to this, and your first solution is to just brute force all the button pressing. You feel that kind of tendril-like pull that the mother kind of used to guide you whenever there is a certain direction she needs you to go or a certain thing that she needs you to focus on. And you feel it kind of pulling to your right, and you look to the right. You feel it kind of pulling to your left, and you look to the left. And you're trying to figure out what the focal point is. You like glance right, you glance left, you glance right. Your mind kind of trying to work over what's going on, trying to really focus in on whatever hint is being given your way. And then you realize that in roughly the correct orientation of where you're at, there are 6, I guess you could say, monuments that vaguely resemble each other surrounding you. 3 on the right, 3 on the left. They're basically rather mundane obelisk-shaped monuments that kind of stick straight up into the sky that, you know, flank either of your sides, maybe correlating with the buttons.
I would manipulate the buttons to match the monuments.
Well, there's 6 monuments. They all look the same. 3 on your right, 3 on your left.
If they all look the same, then
They're all the same structure. There are plaques on them. There are things around them.
I'll take a look at each of the monuments, see what I can discern.
Okay.
I'll give him some assistance as he starts poking around things. Can I get a quick perception check to see if anyone is within eye line of the graveyard?
Sure, yeah. So give me a quick investigation roll with guidance if you want to use that from Jarek. Okay. Being inside the graveyard, you know, to the best of your abilities, no one currently watching you as far as you're aware.
Was that advantage to him because I'm helping?
If you want, I thought you said you gave him. Were you giving him bardic inspiration or actual assistance?
No, help. I want to help him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Roll with advantage then. Alrighty then. So as you two separate, you know, Jarek taking the left, Rolly taking the right, and looking over the monoliths, I guess is what we'll call them. You both barking out what you see on each one, trying to discern what the difference might be, given that the one in the middle is indented on the left, and all the other ones are still poking out. Kind of digging through your mind, there aren't a lot of, I guess, difference as far as like gravestones are concerned. There aren't, you know, specific dates or ages or names that are standing out to you, but only one of the monoliths is a woman's name, or is a monolith for a woman. So that is kind of what you find.
So on the one that's a woman, anything special about it?
No, it is the middle one, I guess, to your left orientation. But besides that, it kind of bears the same marks as all the others.
Willie, what do you think? Do we have to pull the button out? Push it in.
Have you got a coin? That's really where I'm at right now.
Well, here, let's see if we can even pull those buttons out. Can I go tug on a button?
Yep, you can try pulling. You would have a little bit of give, but you would feel it catching on something inside.
All right. Yeah, I don't think we pulled the thing out. Try pushing it in.
Push the opposite one from it on the other side to see if it pushes it out.
Like pull it at the same time. Okay, yeah.
So pushing, I guess, the right middle one on the other side.
Yeah.
Pushing that in. The left side still stays pushed in.
Okay, so just push in the left side. Or is it already pushed in?
The middle left is already pushed in. The
Okay.
middle right is pushed in. All the other ones are out.
How do I pull out the middle right one?
It acts as like a pen, where if you push it in after it's been pushed, it kind of resets.
Okay, so I'll do that. Have just the middle left one pushed in.
Okay.
Anything happen with that?
That was the state that you found the lock in when you first investigated it.
Oh, fuck. Well, here, and I'll push it, pop it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then push all the other ones in.
All right.
And is there like a key that's supposed to go in this thing? I forget what you said.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is a key that's supposed to go in there, but using your flute, you are able to unlock it.
I don't have unlimited uses of this. Okay, and all right, Rolly, let's give it a try.
As you play, you hear the notes resonating. As it lands upon the lock and begins bestowing its magical ability, instead of hearing slightly echoed mechanism, you hear distinctly just one turning. You hear click, 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 and then the singular bar that is crossed like over the, I guess, the seam of the lock slides loose without sliding the other one across, and is now fully unlocked.
Oh, thank God.
And that's where we'll take a 10-minute break. So, we shall pick back up with our brave archaeologists, the astounding puzzle masteteers, Jarek and Rolly. As the lock clicks open, the two bars that hold the heart shape shut, finally sliding out of place, the stone doors shift just ever so slightly to reveal that they are, at this point, free to be moved, but you stand in front of a unlocked crypt.
My God, Jarek, we're geniuses. This is amazing.
You know, I have some concerns. Do you think you could maybe poke a hand in there and see if you detect any? Oh wait, no, I don't need you. I'm sorry. One sec. And pull out the telescope.
Hey, yes. Replaced by a telescope.
You know, I'm more concerned about you saving your godly power for if we need it for something a little more dangerous.
Are you guys gonna open the door first?
How open is it?
Like,
So when he... Okay, yeah, take a look.
Well, hold on, Rolly. I'd like to investigate it for a trap.
Okay. Give me a roll, sir.
I see him doing that, right?
Yep.
There's
Okay.
guidance to go along with that.
Does it punch
Okay.
through? Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna burn a lucky die.
You also have guidance.
Well, yeah, but like on a 9, that's not gonna make a huge difference.
Okay.
So 19.
Okay. As the door is set ajar and you are glancing over the lock and kind of the immediate area around the door, nothing stands out to you that it is armed or trapped in any way.
Okay, good enough. Right here, Rolly, you take the telescope. I'm gonna pry this thing open.
Still nothing around us. Nobody has...
So, Jarek, as you open up the doors, they both swing outwardly towards you, with you peering in with a telescope. There are about 3 or 4 sarcophagus? Jesus. Sarcophagi? Yeah, there you go. Concrete stone coffins. Easiest way to say it. Set on various, I guess you could say, showcase kind of display slabs. Clearly, there's 4. We'll go with 4. There are 2 on the left, 1 on the right that are clearly have been here for some time, and the one in the far back right is still bright and clean and showcasing its white, untarnished marble finish. But as you look in with the telescope, nothing appears to be blasting out any sort of magical aura.
You got anything?
It's probably the newest one. Let's get about our business and be on.
Okay.
So- Take a look at the newest sarcophagus and
So, walking through the crypt and kind of glancing around to make sure that the one that you're heading towards is more likely the target of your inquiry, you see that the other three are very distinctly lacking any sort of locking mechanism. As you approach the cleaner one, there is a lock.
No, good. Rolly didn't pray hard enough. Okay. Rolly, can you investigate the walls? And I'm gonna investigate this lock.
Well,
So you were
certainly.
trying to discern if the lock has anything more than just a lock to it?
If it's a puzzling lock, yeah, I think I would
Mhm.
love to know.
Okay.
There's more to it than that. Oh, good Jesus Christ.
So as you two look around, investigating the small space around you before proceeding forward, there, Rolly, as you're getting, a glance at the immediate area, there's various, dried flowers and herbs and what you would assume kind of burnt out candles being left on some of the older stone coffins around you. There's nothing currently on top or nearby the newest coffin that you stand in front of. And Jarek, as you investigate the lock, it does appear to be a much simpler, more straightforward lock than the one that you'd previously gone through.
Okay. Anything special on your end, Rolly?
No.
Okay. Pull out the pan flute. Whip a raucous of notes across.
As you let the notes kind of resonate in the air, landing on the lock, again hearing that distinct click, you see this, the top slab of the coffin shift ever so slightly, and as you do, both of you give me Constitution saving throws.
is this against poison?
No. Okay. So as the crack is slowly slipped open, you're not quite prepared, and all of a sudden, with just that small gap, you are hit in the face with this putrid, rotten, disgusting smell that assaults your nose immediately, and both of you being, travelers of this world would recognize it as a rotting body smell. It is very aggressive, almost kind of takes you aback, but you both being veterans of the implements of murdering people for various reasons, hold yourself stout and stand there tall looking down at the slightly agape coffin.
It's definitely a dead body in there.
So, do we finally have access to,
Yeah, you could push the slab off to reveal it all the way.
Alright. And
So-
what do we see?
Grinding the stone lid across the surface, the very low, resonating, heavy the stone kind of shifting out of place, reveals basically human soup in the bottom of a stone bowl, kind of a bathtub-shaped, curved center of this coffin. The skin, the flesh, the muscle of this person has began to decay and become more of a congealed, gelatinous mess versus any semblance of a human being at this point. The face is rather unrecognizable. The skeletal, bone structure is kind of beginning to press out of the slowly kind of sinking dead body, I guess we could call it. The one thing that you notice very quickly right off the bat, she is not laid out as you would expect with any sort of upper class noble woman regard. Instead of being like laid on her back with her hands over her chest or, in some elegant manner, she's kind of been dumped sideways, like on her side, into the coffin.
I'd like to check the walls of the coffin to see if there's any scratch marks, as though she were maybe buried alive.
Okay, looking at that, just a quick glance will make you roll. There are no markings on the inside that would indicate she was trying to escape.
Well, it's time for me to do what I came here for. Your assistance, Jarek, play me a tune to take my mind off the stench, please.
Oh, but by the gods, yes. And I will cast a little bardic inspiration upon him.
Okay.
And
I'd like... Oh, go ahead.
help him.
Hmm?
Can I help him? Offer him the help action.
I'll go ahead and allow it.
Okay.
So roll with inspiration and advantage.
Medicine?
Yep, medicine. There's no way this could go wrong.
None whatsoever.
Wow, you guys have nailed a 20 on like every point of this venture.
And just for good luck, I want to roll my bardic inspiration too.
Go for it, sir.
It's a, what is it?
A D8.
If you nail an 8 on this, I'm going to be amazed. Okay, reasonable.
So a 32. What does a 32 tell me?
I don't know, the DC's pretty high. She's been dead for a while. Okay, so as you glance in, and Jarek, as a devout companion, begins to fill the small area with music to help distract you all from the putrid scene and smell that you were staring down upon. Rolly, kind of digging into your medical knowledge, the various people that you have helped, the scenes that you've seen, the books that you have read. Of course, the majority of your knowledge has been used on dwarves, but you've, traveled a fair bit now. You're familiar with humans and, how they might differ ever so slightly from dwarven anatomy. A couple things stand out to you. How involved are you getting in this examination? Are you glancing, digging, pulling out?
I'm doing as proper of an autopsy as I am able to under the circumstances.
Alrighty. So as you are relieving the skeleton of some of its bones to examine it closer, kind of like a pulling a bone out, kind of like twirling it in your fingers, a bit of the remnant of the human being beginning to drip from it as you examine it further, kind of maybe using the back of your chainmail to scrape away some of the flesh to get down to the bone. Going over your examination, taking several minutes. Things that stand out to you is, as far as you are aware, talking to the common people of the manor and the knowledge that you may have talking to Valoran, Lady Janique should be, middle-aged, 40s, 50s, in that range, nearing end stages of her life. And with that being so, there should be particular, worn-out joints and indicators that the skeleton has seen a long life, which it is rather devoid of. It appears to be a much more, healthy, young, spry skeleton that doesn't quite match what has been described to you. It is clearly a female skeleton, and body, I guess you could discover. The other point that you would catch on to rather quickly is amongst the muck, it's not... A lot of it has been claimed by the bile that is now formed in the coffin. You are able to find a few stray, long, blonde hairs, where, as far as you have been told and you are aware of, Lady Janique was black of hair. So there is something to be said that hair does lose its color over some time, but usually not this quickly in the dark. So that is also another strange find.
Any apparent cause of death is what I'm looking for.
Gotcha. I actually forgot to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. Getting as you are digging through and looking over and not quite finding any sort of traumatic injury or something of that nature, poking further and further, trying to find something that leads to death besides, old age or something of that sort, you do find that on the base of the back of the skull, there's a rather large puncture, fracture, wound in the actual bone, which clearly anybody that had a injury of this size to the back of their skull would not live long. It's pretty easy to assume that if this is not the cause of death, it certainly made sure that death was a certainty.
Well, I don't think we found Lady Solomon.
No. Can I see some of that hair real quick that you were pulling out?
It's all yours.
How old did you say this seems?
If you need that information, it does roughly line up with having been dead for a month, 2, in that range.
Oh, no. The skeleton. Age of the deceased.
Ah, gotcha. Well, there's some more information for you.
She was a young woman, right?
Younger than she should have been.
Looking at this blonde hair, I have a feeling Edwin is going to be very heartbroken. And we have another mystery to figure out.
Yes. First of which not being, the least of which not being, where is the Lady Solomon? If not resting in repose.
Oh. Super gross. Yeah, Rolly, let's put the soup back in.
I want to look just a little further. Is there any any bits of clothing that are distinct, or any sort of jewelry, or anything on the body?
So, shifting through what is left, trying to parse if there's anything to identify in that manner, it appears that whoever had put her to rest here had made sure that any clothing, any jewelry, any earrings, anything of that nature had been removed beforehand. Which also is rather strange for a noble woman being laid to rest, would be dressed in a presentable manner.
I think we've found all we can. Let's get out of here before we're noticed, and
I'd like to try to put everything back as...
unless you got something else you want to see, Jared.
I'll take the skull, if you would be so kind.
What is it with you and heads?
I think I'm just gonna guess here. This is probably Victoria, and we can at least tell the young lad that she's dead.
And you can do that without a head. Jarek, put it down. It's a bad idea. That's a good boy.
So, closing it back up as you found it?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else you guys are doing here at the gravesite?
No, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say erase any and all evidence.
Wiping it down with your sleeve.
Prestidigitate any kind of goop that we dripped.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, if there's some dust around, I'll soil it with dust so it doesn't look disturbed.
All right.
And just kind of tidy up, so we were never there.
Alright, so returning the scene to look like you had never disturbed it, I'm imagining you all are heading back to the manor at this point.
Yes.
Yes, Jarek.
Quick note, are we capable of locking everything?
That is a good question. Because, like, usually when you lock something back up, you gotta use the key.
Yeah. Yeah.
The, Give me an intelligence check, Seth. Jarek.
Oh, fuck me. It's -1, so 17.
Okay. I will say
doing
that we're doing it. We're really doing it. Noticing this, realizing this, you would quickly find various implements that got into the locking mechanism enough to relatch it, whether that be the tip of your dagger, a twig, some sort of metal implement, not enough to fully disengage the lock and unlock it, but enough to kind of force it back closed.
Okay. And same with the
Yes.
dastardly puzzle lock. Okay, great.
I will give you the benefit of the doubt because you pointed it out to me, so.
I'm so happy that didn't go sideways. Okay. Once we get everything reset, really, okay, let's get the fuck out of here.
I agree with you.
I wonder, do you think there's any other graves in here that are fresh?
It's a graveyard. It's a good bet. Let's go.
Fair enough.
All right. So as you two are heading back, towards the manor, you'll be returning there around evening of that day. We're gonna hop over to you, Thor. So, after being verbally assaulted with questions by Gabby, asking who you are and what you are and things of that nature, she quickly grows bored of you about 10 or 15 minutes into the conversation and leaves, saying that there's other things that she can do and her ma's gonna whip her hide and things of that nature, and you are left yet again to be kind of there for the meantime. About an hour or so pass. Eventually, as the kitchen starts to die down and it's clear that whatever meal or gathering that was being supplied by the kitchen is beginning to die down and not requiring as much attention, you see a familiar figure walking through the hallway towards you. It's rather strange to see him here, kind of in contrast with the servants moving about, but you see Sir Florent Lemoyne walking down the service hallway, kind of looking a little bit puzzled, kind of the look that you would gather if he appears to be lost wherever he's trying to go, and he spots you, and he puts on kind of a fake expression of shock, and then starts making his way towards you.
I guess I will kind of read the room as he's pretending to not know me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just kind of like be a little more look defensive,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I'll at first I'll be like, oh hey, and then I'll be like, oh, okay.
So as he is approaching you, not really even giving you the opportunity to reply, he goes, well, you are a very precarious fellow. Wow, look at you. And kind of like closing the distance before he settles down at the table with you, kind of sat just around the corner of it, so he's, more or less lined up with you. And then reaches across the table and goes, Thorasius, it's very good to see you again.
Sir Florent, it is very good to see you. Do we know each other now?
He kind of like looks behind him to make sure that the servants are involved in something that isn't eavesdropping. He kind of looks back at you and nods his head. He's like, I think that we are rather safe here for the moment. I would have liked to get this information to Lord Athelvane himself, but considering he is surrounded by wandering ears, I think I will leave it with you so that you can pass it along to him when you find the time.
Yes, sir, I can relay this information for you.
So, Lord Athelvane gave me the task of figuring out Lord Solomon's wealth of knowledge, where he keeps it, where he might have it, what he'll use it for, who he has it on, things of that nature. Very simple task, yes?
Yes.
I'm glad you agree. I found it rather simple as well. Perhaps he'll give me something more challenging next time. Anyway, since we don't have a lot of time, I'll try and cut to the chase. Solomon is rather cautious, I guess you could say, and he does not keep his ledger in any sort of physical book or journal. He keeps it in here, but he is not alone in this task.
How? What?
The only way that you can acquire all of the secrets that Lord Solomon has collected, the various weights that he holds over the noblemen of Folke, are held in two distinct individuals, himself and one of his trusted companions. You need both Sir Ollum, not Sir Ollum, I lied. You need both Lord Solomon's mind and Sir Millet, his knight. If they come together and they break the seal of the spell, then they can reveal all the information that they have held inside. A mage, every week, must reset this spell so that it does not slip away. 2 nights from now, they will have to reset this spell, and during that time, the mage will be holding both sides of the puzzle. And if that mage has a accident at a very particular time, that information is no longer usable.
Whoa.
Simple, right?
Yes. Yes, very simple indeed.
I'm imagining that any of you could have achieved this information gathering as quick as I could.
I was almost about to figure that out. You know, I had a little girl in here earlier. She was telling me literally this same thing. I didn't really believe her. You know, the story didn't seem to add up. But hearing it from a second source, I believe Gabby and you.
I'm glad that you were hot on my heels.
Indeed. Do you know where this happens?
I imagine that it happens in his private quarters, but I do not know for sure. I have not been witness to this ritual. I just know of its existence.
And how did you hear about this again?
It's not important.
No, but you see, that kind of seems important.
Thor, I would love to sit here and describe to you the various high levels of intrigue and wit that I use to parse out this information over an evening's time, but the fact of the matter is I am required elsewhere, or it would raise some suspicion.
Okay.
So can I trust that you will pass this along to your lord when you find the time?
I will relay the information to Lord Athelvane.
I appreciate your service, sir, and I hope that you find a better place to linger besides this dank hole.
Me and Gabby were having a lot of fun, actually. So.
All right.
Carry on, Sir Florent.
Good day, Thor, and good luck. Bows his head, kind of like, well, sir, that is mighty impressive. I think I am required elsewhere. Carry on, sir. And then he makes his way away.
I'll just speak in giant. Carry on, sir!
All right. Around this time, Daniel, the familiar half-orc, is kind of making his way down the hallway, clearly attempting to find where Sir Florent had vanished to, kind of finding him as he is turning away from you. They have a very hushed discussion that you can't quite hear, but the end of which is like, oh, yes, I'm fighting my way back, I am so sorry. Daniel kind of giving him a head nod, letting him leave, and then turning over to you. Well, it looks like your lord is not coming back for you anytime soon. shall I escort you back down to the village so you can find a place to curl up for the night?
So I'm not going to stay here, is that what I'm getting?
Well, we can't have you staying with your lord in his room. That would be unfitting.
Is this room occupied?
Where the servants eat?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we have that reserved for tomorrow.
But not for tonight.
I will attempt to express the situation in words that you might understand. You will not be spending the night in the manor.
Okay. That's really how you feel. I really thought we had something alike, but it's okay.
Could you follow me?
I can. Do you want me to follow you?
He just turns around and starts walking off.
I'm gonna stick there for like a minute. Just watch him. Just wait until he gets like just out of eyesight. And then I'll start to stand up and walk.
Okay. He is around the corner, waiting patiently as he hears you coming. Eventually starts making more progress, leading you back out into the Great Hall. And then outside, he then kind of gestures to you and goes, I imagine you will find it reasonable to be returned to your wagon with your dwarven companion.
Ah, yes. I do need to check and see what he's doing. We haven't checked in on him. Actually, I do need to ask you, can I check in with my lord, the Athelbane, before I leave? I haven't seen him in quite a while.
I can send a message and see if he will set aside the time to come check in with you.
Okay. Just let him know that I just want to check in with him, make sure he is still alive, doing well.
Stand here. Don't move.
Aye, aye, Captain.
He then turns swiftly around, making his way across the great entrance hall. I'm losing it today. And off into the distance, eventually disappearing. Valoran, this is a few minutes after the kind of central part of the gathering and the eating has kind of ended. You're about to be kind of like led to your rooms and dispersed as Daniel the servant comes up to you and very politely bows his head. My lord Athelbane, your large companion is asking to see if you are available. He just wants to check in with you.
Ah, yes. So loyal. That's what I like about him, He's actually a serviceable valet, if you can believe it. Send him to my quarters, and then I'll send him to the village. Find out where he's going to stay.
Right away, my lord. I will get that in the works. Turns around. Heads back. Comes back to you, Thor. Looking disheveled a little bit. Annoyed, visibly. Comes up to you. Lucky day for you, sir. It seems that you are being led up to the residential quarters for but a moment to check in with your lord, and then he shall direct you back to where you should go.
Lead the way, Daniel.
Turns. Leads you. So, you'd probably be given a little bit of time, Valoran, to get up to your room, relax, switch dressings, whatever you want to be doing at this time, before there is a light knock on your door.
I'll walk to the door and open it.
So Daniel would bow his head very low, gesture his arm out towards Thor. My lord, your loyal servant. And then he kind of steps to the side to let Thor go in.
Good timing. Get in here, Thor. Thank you, Mr.
Daniel is my name, my lord.
Mr. Daniel. That will be all.
Slowly closes the door, bowing his head.
I'll just loudly just kind of be like, Lord Athelvain, I just wanted to check in, make sure you are doing okay, make sure everything went well, you are not injured.
Yes, of course. Come and help me with this, and then you can go. And I want to move us to the middle of the room,
Okay.
away from doors, windows.
All right.
And I'll ask Thor to start removing my armor, and I'll just stand there in T-pose.
Okay. Thor, give me an intelligence check.
Yeah, I was just on that. Oh, shit!
Okay, continue.
I was gonna say, I was like, does Thor even know how to remove armor? But apparently he does.
All right, Thor. Find the others in the village tonight. Try to coordinate with them. Find out if they've learned anything. How have you been?
You know, I'm just gonna talk normally, but I'm saying this in
I got you.
You know, I met a very interesting kitchen girl named Gabby. She gave me a glass of milk, and we talked a little bit. She was a little weird, I'm a little weird. We got along pretty well.
I shared something in common.
Yep, that was pretty great. Then Sir Florent came around with some rather interesting information. So apparently there is some sort of spell that helps information be stored for Lord Solomon, and it's between two people, and it's between him and his knight, Sir what?
Mallet.
Yeah, that one.
I saw him at the party.
But so it's between him, and it has to be recast every week or so, and so the casting is in 2 days, and they have to hire a mage. So if somehow the mage was... the spell could not be recast.
And then what would happen?
The information would be lost, I believe is what he told me.
Very interesting. That's outstanding. That's better than I ever expected from that Lemoyne.
Yeah, I don't know. He always seemed kind of fishy to me, but so far so good. I did ask where he got this information from, and he did not answer me. So that's a little fishy still.
Well,
But
for now, Thor, we will trust but verify.
I don't know how else we verify that.
I have some ideas. Find Jarek and Rolly tonight. Tell them that I want to know if any of the half-orcs that are going to be killed in the party celebration have family that work in the castle. The manor, excuse me.
Gotcha. Looking for relatives, making connections. I see what we're doing here.
Exactly.
All right. That was all that I learned. How is everything up here?
In the morning, when you return, I will come back to this room. I'll make up some excuse about having a headache or wanting to take breakfast in bed, something. If they refuse you and tell you that I'm anywhere else, it was not of my choosing. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
It means trouble.
Does that mean I stormed the castle by myself?
Ask Jerk and Rolly first.
Okay. I'm not sure they would say no.
At least they might come with you.
Yeah, that's true.
Thor?
JD does. Oh,
You're doing excellent.
I'm really trying. Being a bodyguard is harder than I thought.
Yes, well, most of the job is keeping up appearances.
I think I look pretty good.
You do, in fact. I have good taste.
Is that all you needed?
Not by a long shot, but it's all I can think of for now. Thank you, Thor.
All right.
Watch your back.
You did the same.
Of course.
And if we learn, I'll have JD send you messages to because he can check in on you if you want him to, or he can tell you what he's learned.
That would be splendid.
Sounds good. And then loudly I will say, well, if there is nothing else, Lord Athelbane, I will be on my way. I am glad to see you safe and secure.
Yes, Thor, thank you very much. I'll see you in the morning.
In the morning, I will open the door. Is there anybody out there?
Yeah, Daniel is standing kind of across the hallway from the door, just kind of stood calmly watching.
Daniel?
Good news, loyal servant. You will be allowed to stay in the manor for the night, and then you may do as you wish in the town tomorrow.
Are you sure, Daniel? Because I don't want this to be an inconvenience to you.
I have been told that it is allowed for a singular evening.
Okay.
Lord Athelbane, I hope you have a pleasant evening.
Of course. Thank you.
Thor.
Daniel.
And then he starts leading you away.
Mm-hmm.
So he would lead you down to the stables, where the wagon is kept, which is technically still in the manor.
Mm.
But he would lead you outside, kind of around the building, through one of the roads that kind of go through a very elegantly kept garden, eventually getting to the stables, and he goes, I would warn you about the smell, but I imagine that you are rather used to it.
Doesn't really bother me, but can't imagine it bothers you either.
Well, I never quite have to deal with it, so I haven't had to get used to it.
Find that hard to believe.
I hope you sleep well.
I hope you live well.
And then he just walks off. But Terry would be inside with the wagon. And that is where you are at.
Hey, Terry.
So as you enter into the stables and approach the wagon, you see that it has been kind of unhitched from the horses. They're being, put in their separate stalls and taken care of. There is a singular boot kind of sticking out of the back of the wagon, like overhung a little bit. You hear a light snoring coming from the interior.
Oh, hey, Terry. Yep, okay. Well, as long as we're both accustomed to this life, I will, actually, question. From the stables, is there any way to get back into the town?
You could look. Like, there are various gardens, and there's a gate that surrounds, not a gate, a fence, like a wrought iron fence, kind of similar to the graveyard situation, that surrounds the entire manor, that like deliberately separates the town from the manor. And then there's like gardens and, you know, various walkways and things kind of between that as well. So that would be what you'd be going up and over if you wanted to get to the town.
How tall is the fence?
About 10-15 feet, like the other one.
It's not really that high for me. Yeah, I'd just like to walk around, see if there's a way out besides hopping a fence.
So go ahead and give me, I guess what? We'll go perception.
Okay.
Okay. So leaving the stables, kind of just aiming yourself in the direction loosely of the exterior of the property, you quickly realize as you move into a garden and wander down a path and look at the fence and kind of get a general lay of the land that there are 2 guards following you about maybe 150 feet back, you know, keeping their distance, but definitely keeping you within eyesight, that are just diligently, silently following you.
Okay. But do I notice any...
There's the main gate that, you know, like wagons and whatnot would be brought through. That kind of, you know, is the main entrance in and out. There are various other smaller gates around the property. You don't get all the way around, because like the manor does kind of block off like a full circle of the property. As far as you can tell, the height of the fence is a pretty standard all the way around. There aren't any super noticeable ways in and out that are easier than others. It's pretty well kept and pretty well maintained and kind of built to keep people out or in. So, yeah.
Okay. I'd like to just stroll up to the main gate.
Okay.
Just try to leave.
Okay, strolling up to the gate, which is closed at night. There are 2 of the guards these are not the ones that are following you, but very similar to the ones that you passed when going through the main doors. You know, very stoic, very, you know, stiff back, eyes forward, still dressed in the kind of like a light gambeson and not full armor. But as you're approaching the gate, you see their eyes moving to you, watching you approach closer and closer. Eventually, one kind of nodding his head down at you. Where do you think you are going, sir, this late at night?
I am going back into town, as my lord requested me.
That may be all well and good, and I do not mean to block the task of any lord, but we have not been told to let anybody in or out currently for the safety of those inside.
I have the opinion that some may feel more safe with me outside.
You see the 2 guards kind of eyeing each other and looking back up at you. That is a rather insightful thought that you carry. Can we ask why you need to leave the premises?
Yes. My lord Athelbane told me that there was no place for me to stay here, as did Daniel. And so I was going to leave to find some place to sleep.
Give me deception.
Am I lying to them? Maybe.
Yeah. Ooh. Let's see. Let's give you a chance. They kind of look over each other, look back at you. If you are being escorted out, then you would have an escort.
You don't see them?
You see them kind of like splitting to kind of look around you to the guards behind you. Look back up at you. Are we going to have a problem here?
I don't have a problem with you. Do you have a problem with me? Because I can leave.
You see them both look at each other, and the glance that they share this time is kind of like a, you down? Am I down? I don't know. Am I down? Are you down? Kind of like glancing back and forth and looking back over at you. There's a small bit of hesitation. He goes, I would like to politely ask you to return to wherever you're supposed to be, so there are no incidents at the gate.
If you want me to lay in the field out here, I can lay in the field, because that's where I'm supposed to be. But if you would like to keep me in here, scare some more people, I'm fine with that. I'll just turn around.
You see them kind of nodding suspiciously at you as you turn around. The guards that have been kind of pursuing you, holding their distance as they watch you turn. And everyone just kind of like stands and waits.
You said there were gardens, right?
Yep.
I'll find one of those gardens.
Okay.
And I'll just sit there for a real long time.
Alright.
Maybe fall asleep there.
Is that your goal?
Probably.
Alright. So, as you find a very pleasant spot in the garden, which, you haven't quite been in a location such as this. You know, there's the slight bubbling of water from the fountains kind of drifting through the night air. There's the very distant cawing of, nightlife from the woodlands surrounding the town. There's this pleasant floral smell kind of drifting through the garden that you're sat in. It's a very soothing place to kind of sit and relax and reprieve yourself from the intensity of political intrigue and whatnot. So, if you sit there for some time, you would find yourself drifting off to sleep.
I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Given all the time that I've been with Carl, would I know that he has to stay within a certain range of me?
If you had tested this and tried this at some point, there is a limit.
Okay.
It's
How
like
far is the limit?
60 feet-ish.
Okay. Not exactly what I'm going for. Alright. Then I will just talk to Carl and have my sword on my chest. Fall asleep.
So coming back over to you, Lord Athelvain, it is the evening in your room after Thor has dispersed. Is there anything that you are up to?
So I am shaving, bathing, getting myself up to folk standards. Actually a little disturbed that I somehow failed to do that while I was in Vilstein.
Sorry if I pushed that on you, but I just went with it.
It makes perfect sense. So doing all of that behavior while I'm moving about my quarters, taking care of hygiene, I will use that excuse to really investigate this room for anything that may be strange. And I will poke my head out of the room to see who's watching my door, because someone's watching my door. And by way of explanation, I will ask to be sent a nightcap.
Okay. So give me an investigation check for the room.
I never do very well on these.
Ugh, damn.
That's not my thing.
Yeah, moving around the room, it is everything that you would expect as a room for a nobleman being given. Very well taken care of and laundered sheets and blankets, a goose feather bed and pillow, the whole 9 yards. It's clear that there's no slight being put your way with this particular gift, I guess you can say. As you look around, there isn't anything that screams out to you as something is off. But knowing Lord Solomon and some of the, rumors and mystique that surround him, it would be rather disappointing if anything that he had meant for you was so easily spotted. So, certainly doesn't make you feel that you have searched everything and gotten everything and have the whole room mapped out, but you don't see anything. When you step out of the room or open the door, kind of glance out, Lord Solomon's room is the last room in this hallway, kind of at the end of it versus like on the side walls. There is a singular guard standing in front of his door, and there's also another guard standing at the other side of the hallway where it meets the other passages that lead back into the main section of the manor.
So, whichever is closest, just matter-of-factly, I will just walk out and be like, I want someone sent with a nightcap, if you please.
Yes, can a specific request or?
Just a good wine. Red.
I will make sure that is heading your way, Lord.
Very
Nodding
good.
his head, moves down the hallway.
And I'll just head straight back to the room, so as not to look funny. Is my glaive there? My things that I had to hand over for propriety end up in my room?
Everything has been brought to your room. Yes.
Okay, good. So I'll wait for my nightcap. Once I get it, I will have a glass. And while I'm waiting to hopefully be messaged, the last thing I will do is set noise-making traps at the portals of the room, window, door, things that will clatter or be knocked over if I can find like thread or twine that I can use to lace some things together. Things of that nature.
A quick reminder is the night that you are going through currently is the night before Jarek and Rolly are waking up and going on their graveyard adventure.
Oh, I see. So there's not going to be anything to... Yeah, all right.
I actually had something to ask about that. So the information I found out regarding Solomon being in the performance, as well as like the slaves and all that good stuff, I forget if I actually told Valoran that. I think I did whenever he was giving out gifts. I think, but I don't recall.
Which thing? What?
About how Solomon's going to be in the reenactment. The slaves are set to die, and they're also being housed in the woods.
I remember getting that message from you. I don't know what the timeline is exactly, but I remember giving it to you and then just having a very short response back of like, good job, keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
It was in a message.
So other than setting some noise traps around the room, I don't have anything else.
All right.
At this time.
So to help converge the spreading cinematic universe of our game, it would be easiest that, Thor, when you are released in the morning to come see Lord Valoran, you'd be like, I wasn't allowed out. And when you go to seek Jarek and Rolly, they would be gone, going on their graveyard mission. So it would make the most sense that we kind of all converge next evening or next night, unless there are specific things that people are looking to do that day.
So, I think that as soon as Jarek and Rolly are done with their investigation, Jarek would go ahead and burst off a message to Valoran. Investigated the grave, discovered the body of a young woman, probably a villager, Lady Shireen? No. Damn it.
It was Janique.
Janique. Lady Janique may be still alive. What does that put me at? 19? 14. 14.
19.
19.
19. Okay.
6 more.
Yeah.
We'll just keep talking until you run out, and we'll see how much gets through.
May want to poke around more. And I'll send that to Valoran. And I guess that would be what, like midday?
Yeah, midday of the 7th.
Right.
So, wrong body's in the grave. Yeah, okay. Responding to the message, is that like I can't just think it, right? Like I'm talking. I'm actually speaking.
Yeah.
I
think you have to say it because there's a verbal component.
Yeah.
So I think the response is also a verbal component.
But I would be okay with you like muttering it basically.
Yeah. So I want to find a moment that I can do it
Discreetly.
surreptitiously.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the next day.
Yes.
And
So this is after your lunch, after your Thorin used little evening cap. This is midday the next day.
Okay. So that means that it's sometime tomorrow, that this mage is coming, that Lemoyne says is coming.
Yes.
All right. Blackmail, one word or two?
One?
Okay. I've already measured this out, so you don't have to count. Tried to send Thor to meet, but was corralled.
Mm-hmm.
Find relative of slave sacrifices in manor.
Okay.
Lemoyne says, Salamon's blackmail mage, coming tomorrow. Must intercept.
Must intercept. Okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and burn that other slot, and I can try to speak with the staff. I am staying with the head cook. Do you want us to kill the mage before arrival?
Oh, no.
I'm a little disappointed because I'm only at 21. I feel like I should use those last 4 words for something.
Praise Jarek as much as you can.
Read faster, idiot.
Was it gross?
I guess I have some leeway. All right. We'll find out more from Lemoyne. For now, assume stop by any means. For the relative, just get me a name and description.
Okay, cool. Okay, so after Jarek does that, he will relate that information over to Rolly.
Mm-hmm.
Rolly, just talked to Valor, and looks like we have a new task. We need to see if we can find some relatives of the slaves. Do you think we should go talk to the slaves first?
I'm not really sure about Folke. I know that slaves probably don't have much interaction with normal folk around here on a chit-chatty basis. Might be better to find a relative first.
Okay, then we need to get into the manor, and a slightly more delicate situation. We gotta go kill someone.
Eric.
Whoa. By any means necessary. We gotta find a mage that's coming to visit Solomon.
I mean, Will is rather final. Couldn't we give him a case of the exploding shits or something?
Well, if you have anything to give him in exploding shits, then by all means, but the best I can do is tell him to twiddle his thumbs for the 8 hours.
Well, let's find him first, and then maybe we keep killing in reserve as an option.
I'm just saying, just a quick, but we'll try it your way first.
All right, so
where would relatives of slaves be if do they even have that here?
Well, I assume there would just be anyone that's a half-work working in the manor.
I guess best to start with that.
all right, so where are we in relation to the manor right now?
So you guys are almost like this is all going on as you're returning back from the grave site. You would be returning back to like the town beneath the manor, late afternoon, early evening, like right as the sun's kind of beginning to set.
All right.
Maybe killing him wouldn't be such a bad idea after all.
I was thinking about that on the way, the walk back. I figure maybe you distract him, we hit him with a few spells, stuff his body down a hole.
Put him to sleep.
No, I can't. But I can attempt to convince him to take a nap.
Start with that.
Okay. The only problem is, I don't know where he's coming from, or what he looks like. It might be a good idea to link back up with Valorant and Thor and see what they've learned throughout today.
Under what pretext?
Well, I need to go over the accounts, and you must perform his evening prayers.
Let's go then.
So you're heading to the manor?
Yes.
Okay. So as you two get into the town itself, the start of the end of the day beginning. That was a good sentence. People winding down, going to their homes, eating their final meals. As you enter, though, you see the familiar, sign of Edwin, who has been sat in front of the chef's house, waiting patiently, a bunch of parchment in hand, the quill basically used down to the nub at this point, sees you in your fabulous outfit and starts darting towards you with parchment that is covered from start to finish in ink. There are multiple descriptions crossed out, scrabbled out, redone, reworded. There's arrows pointing to various parts of the sentences to push two sentences together, and he looks ecstatic that he has perfected the description of his loved one as he comes rushing to him. Master Bard, Master Jarek, I have gotten everything that you might need. I tried to dig deep into the vocabulary that I have, the meager amount that I do, and I feel that I have found the correct wording to describe my love.
That's great. Well done, Edwin. Let me take all of this. Thank you, and I will see what I can compose, and perhaps my song will reach her, wherever she may be. Though, if I may be honest, if she has joined an acting troupe, you will likely be waiting in vain.
As you take the parchment, he kind of reaches out with his hands, which are stained with ink at this point, and grabs your own, kind of holding it in both of his, and pulls you in closer as he kind of lowers his voice. Master Jarek, as a bard, you must, at some point in your life, have fallen head over heels for a lady. I want you to think back to that time and try and see if the words you are telling me would have steered you in any different direction.
I fell head over heels for a lady, and when I returned to her not a year later, she was pregnant. So, there is that. What color was your lady's hair?
It was vibrant and blonde, and it caught the sun like a magnificent mirror.
Jarek would be tearing up with Edwin's words. I will do what I can, lad, but tell me this. If someone had harmed your love, what lengths would you go to avenge her? It makes for a better song.
If they had harmed a hair of her supple head, I would not stop until justice was carried out.
Could you do it with your own hands?
Do what?
Could you see justice done with your own hands? Do you trust the law, or would you guarantee that they saw the sweet, sweet justice of your blade?
You see for the first time his overly, open comments and conversation kind of holding back for a second as he gives you a kind of weary look, backing up ever so slightly, kind of releasing his hands from your grip, and he goes, Jarek, I do not know what you are speaking of, but this does not seem connected to my love unless you know something that I don't.
Man, if you do not have the heart's fire to back your words with your fists, then what you have is nothing but a child's adoration. Look me in the eyes. Tell me your conviction.
Give me your persuasion.
You know what? No. We're gonna burn a lucky die on that one. Please be better. Okay, yeah.
Alrighty then. As you begin to speak. You see that reservation still in his eyes, but as you shift your demeanor a bit, coming at him as if kind of like giving him the platform to stand on to make the right decision, to be cast in the best light, you see his eyes kind of shifting ever so slightly before he kind of like, his whole body language begins to like open up a bit more. You do truly have a way with words, Bard, one that I might never achieve. It is true that there is a fire that burns in the pit of my stomach that will not be satiated, if there was harm done to my love. If that was the case, heaven forbids that it is, I would wield the blade that dispensed justice.
And that is what makes you a man. Thank you, Edwin. That is what I needed. I will let you know if I hear or find out anything.
He kind of nods his head and like gives you another like quick pat of his hand on the back of yours. May the Earth Father bless your steps, Master Bard. I wish you the swiftest of feet.
And safe days to you, Edwin.
And, Master Dwarf, I am very sorry to hear about your love.
No,
Perhaps
that's the good thing about it. You get on with it.
it was a pleasure meeting you both, and I hope that you are the heroes that can bring my love back to me.
Thank you.
And he kind of like nods and turns away.
Giving that boy hope.
Actually, I'm trying to incite him to maybe use him later.
No, I didn't see that at all. What did he mention? I should have asked this. Did he mention who her father was?
Ooh, no. No, he did not. But her name was Victoria. I'm sure we can ask around.
He gone yet?
Edwin? Yeah. God descends from above. Yes, Rolly, Edwin has left.
We got to get up to the manor. Shit to find out.
Side missions on top of side missions on top of side missions.
Oh, goddamn. Okay. All right, Rolly. There's a lot to unpack here. Here, do you want to split up and do this?
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
Or should we just
Yeah.
knock out with Valorant and then come deal with this?
Yeah, we'll split up.
Fuck.
That's fair enough. Okay.
You know, we wanted us to do one-shots. We can make that happen.
No,
No, one shots are dead forever.
you've given me too many things to think about.
All right, so you are splitting up. What are your goals?
All right, bro. I'll look for the girl's father, see if I can glean any information about relatives in the manor. Go help Valorant prepare his evening prayers. I think would probably be the best way to get you in.
Good luck to you.
You as well, Rolly.
Alright, now head towards the manor.
All right, so we are the evening of the 7th. Thor and Valor. Excuse me. Is there anything that you were seeking out during this day?
During the day, I am doing two things mainly. I'm trying to spot Lemoyne
Mm-hmm.
and see if there's a decent time or pretext that I can have a conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it makes sense to visit with my family again today, for some amount of time. It doesn't really matter where or how. If it's in a public place, then so be it. But those are probably the two main things that I can get done without arousing suspicion.
Okay. Thor, is there anything that you're seeking out today?
So what am I allowed to do? Like, what do I get pushback on? Is kind of like if I was to am I allowed to accompany Valor in places or?
Not really. It's almost expected that you kind of go do your thing amongst the town, but this would be during the time that Jarek and Rolly are out of the gravesite. So that's kind of what you got for free. You could, try and finagle your way into the manor for some reason or the other.
Okay. Did I already tell Valorant that like I wasn't able to, relay that message? And then I assume he got that message, so now he knows anyways, and it doesn't even matter.
Once Thor got picked up, so
yeah. I'm assuming I'd be probably put, like, for meals, I'd be put back where I was the first time. So I am going to try to see what information I can get out of Gabby.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Oh, we will start with Sir Valorant. Most of your morning was kind of taken up with, greetings and, not greetings, but kind of getting into the swing of things, more or less figuring out who's who and what's what and where people are, and kind of settling yourself now that you had just arrived the other night. After lunch breaks up, Sir Lemoyne actually kind of seeks you out. The public excuse that he gives is, my lord, my liege, my benefactor, would love to have a relationship with you. Why don't we go have a stroll in the gardens kind of thing? And then quickly separates you so you can have a discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I go along with that for sure.
Yeah. So, taking you outside and, wandering around for a bit, and he idly chats about random things, the yield of his crops and his lord's favorite pastimes and the hunt last winter, things of that nature. But eventually, he's kind of guaranteeing that you are alone and there's no eavesdroppers that he can, reasonably see. He finally kind of, nods his head to you, goes, Lord Athelvain, I do not know how much your companion Thor told you, but I have found out a rather weak spot in Solomon's defenses.
So during the period of time where we are speaking for the benefit of eavesdroppers, I'll actually respond to his inquiries and talk about his lord by dropping hints about, that's all very well and good, and I'm flattered. To be honest, I'm just not sure whether I will be whether I will hold the same title that I do now in a few days' time, and just sort of offering that during that fake out time. And then once we feel we're in the clear, yes, Thor mentioned that you found out about a mage that helps he and his knight with record keeping.
Yes, it was rather peculiar when I stumbled upon it, but the mage that they are employing currently, his name is Albin Kahan. He is the son of the mayor of the Queen's Coast. He's a rather up-and-coming little scrapper.
What is it that he does for them?
So I don't know the particulars. I am not very well versed in the arcane, but as much as I could gather, Lord Solomon holds, I guess you could say, one key, and his knight holds the other. And if ever they need to review the records, piece together information, call upon the secrets they have gathered, they come together and they break the seal of the spell, and I guess have access to the knowledge they have gained. Every week, these keys are, I guess, more or less handed over to the mage as the ritual is repeated, and if the mage is killed during that time, the keys vanish.
Meaning what?
Meaning whatever records, secrets, blackmails, knowledge that Sir Solemn might have had a plan for, or is using to keep someone beneath his heel, would be gone.
How do you know this?
I told you that I'm rather impressive.
I need a little more, Lemoyne.
I'm sorry, my lord, it's very rare that I get to jest in such elite company. I grew up with noble people. I grew up expected to be a noble myself. I know all their intricacies, their habits, what is expected, and I know where the cracks in the holes form, where servants' ears might be bent, guards might give you a passing glance. I am very well versed in this world, and I pride myself in being able to maneuver it rather deftly.
I'm insight checking the hell out of this guy, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if you want
Okay.
one or if you want one for each statement or...
I'll give me insight with advantage, and I'll kind of use that for the whole thing. Alright. Do you want to answer on this particular comment?
Just, you can tell me if I get the sense that something's fishy.
It's clear, fishy might not be the right term. It's clear that he is holding stuff back, whether or not that is for some vile purpose or just for his own safety or some other concern. He is not being completely upfront with you, but it is clear that what he is telling you at least has some semblance of truth. He's not just pulling shit out of his ass.
So, as far as you know, if this Kahan is delayed, then Solomon's blackmail just ceases to exist?
He kind of looks up for a moment and thinks, I would not put it outside of Solomon's grasp that if his mage was delayed that he would not have a backup plan or quickly make his way to the Queen's Coast himself to find a replacement. And it might make him aware that something is afoot.
Well, then how would you disrupt this ceremony?
Again, I am not a master of the arcane. If there was some spell or trinket or item that you could time or place on this person, or have a well-trained bolt through the window, I'm not exactly a master of assassination, but my choice would be eliminate the mage when the keys are in his hands. No more problem.
And this is tomorrow night.
It's tomorrow night. As far as I'm aware, I don't know how precise it is. They do it rather late in the evening, closer to midnight.
In the manor.
As far as I'm aware, they do it in Lord Solomon's private quarters.
I see. Why are you doing this? Why help me?
I thought I made my my agenda rather clear. My lord wants to form a pact of friendship between our houses, and we have a shared friend in Lord Solomon.
Why not make him the same offer?
Perhaps my liege just doesn't like the cut of his jib.
Or his price is too high?
I don't trouble myself with such things. I just do as I am told.
You have a description of this mage?
I don't think so. I've heard of him. He's the youngest son, so he's probably rather young. He'll probably be the only mage on the road that day. He's coming from the Queen's Coast, so I imagine he'll make the trip the day of. These are his assumptions, though I do not know them as fact.
I understand. So many threads.
You seem rather, strained, my lord.
Yes, well. So much to do and no time to do it.
I know it is not my place, but may I give you a little bit of advice?
While you've got the chance.
Though it might be rather unsavory, if you find yourself without enough time and too much at stake, there is always the option of placating Lord Solomon for now and then finding a more opportune time later.
Yes, well. You may not trouble yourself with such things, but allow me to inform you. His prices are very high.
I've not been around long, but I've certainly heard stories. Even with noble titles and lands, things that are sold, bought, and traded can exchange hands a second time.
What are you willing to do, Lemoyne? How far will you go in this matter?
Well, my oath to my liege is my life, and if that is what it takes, that is what I will give.
If you can leave the manor, come and go without causing a scene, as apparently Thor cannot, through no fault of his own, find the others. Get this information to them, if you can. We'll pledge that whichever of us sees them first, we'll let them know.
As you command, my lord.
Command is a weighty word to be throwing around. I know that I still don't know everything.
Certainly true, but you do hold a weighty position.
We'll see for how long. Thank you, Sir Lemoyne.
Of course, my lord, I hope that the gods favor you.
As do I.
He nods his head and, plays up the little game after the more intense conversation and finds a respectful point to remove himself from the conversation.
Sure, I cooperate fully.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to then meet with your mother and sister?
Yeah, and I don't have my heart set on a word for word conversation. If it's easier at this moment to just kind of gloss that over, but just try to find a way to, again, just instill some confidence.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get a private moment, then I will try to instill in Genevieve play along a little more.
Okay. So what I was going to put forward is your mother would try and set aside a dinner for the three of you for the afternoon, being family and not having seen each other for a long time. It's not out of the ordinary to ask for such a thing. So the three of you would have a private dinner, discuss things. Of course, there are servants around and whatnot, so it's not a completely open conversation, but it's reserved enough that you can communicate some things back and forth. You would get more of, kind of vague frustration from Genevieve, some mild acceptance that the situation is tilting. Yeah, tenuous. You would notice that she is wearing the belt that Jarek had constructed or made, which is some sign, and then the mother has the hairpin. That was both in the gift basket. So, however you want to take that, that is something you would notice. So,
I just might comment how nice they look on them, and I'm glad they have taken to them.
But yeah, that I guess would be the majority of the dinner evening meal. So
That's fine.
Okay. And then Therasius, hopping over to you real quick. So you are talking to Gabby, discussing with Gabby, kind of grilling her for various things she might know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like, where are the drugs? But
Where is she?
I'm just like, trying to get the gossip, make good friends with Gabby, show her Carl, a little fascination there with a moving doll. Just like get in and see what I can glean from her.
Okay, give me a persuasion with advantage.
Persuasion.
All right. She would at some point mention Jarek and Rolly. You would understand who she's talking about by how she talks about them. Do you show any sort of familiarity with them?
Maybe that I had seen them. I had seen them, but not that I know them necessarily.
All right. So, she would talk about various things that happened that day and things she saw and things she overheard. It's quite clear that she is one of the kind of scrappy servant children that doesn't really have a purpose or a job, so she more or less finds time in going about the manor, sneaking through things, kind of being a general, nuisance more or less. She's very well known throughout the manor as kind of being the scrappy child that annoys everybody and gets into things she shouldn't. So it's clear enough to you as you speak to her and kind of get a little bit of stories and stuff coming out of her that if there were ways around the manor that you needed to go and not be seen, she might have some insight.
Okay. And then am I able to know who her parents are?
So her mother is Nadine, who is the head chef, which is the place that Jarek and Rolly are staying at her house for the evenings, I guess nights. And then her father is apparently a bard that ran off.
Okay. No resemblance to JD at all.
No.
Just making sure. All right. And then every time that I would interact with Daniel, I would like to grill him, intentionally.
All right.
Ask him, the tough questions.
Where do babies come from?
Do you like this life? What would you rather be doing? Maybe flash some of the money that I have and be like, I make this easily. Just different things about what I do versus what he does. I'm jacked as shit. You're not,
All right. The goal being just like kind of gathering his feelings on that.
Just to like stir him up a little bit, like make him kind of question his own, like, why am I here? You know.
All right.
I mean,
Give me just a straight persuasion.
okay. I get that it's hard to do it in like 2 days, but you know.
We'll probably get into it more, I'm assuming, but the initial kind of response that you get is kind of dismissing you, very frustrated that you are so insistent on being a nuisance versus like finding your proper place and sticking to the background. Though the more you like poke and prod, the more he begins to kind of engage back with you. Instead of like being dismissive or just kind of like giving you a smarmy smile, he'll start like arguing with you, which you can take as a sign.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gotcha.
was there anything else on your list, sir?
Check in with Terry. Just
Okay.
see if he's sleeping all day, if he's dead. Never really actually checked on that, so he could be dead.
Okay.
And then try to see if I can figure out what he meant by like the words that he said to me in the cart
Okay.
about like who is gonna take the hammer if not Rolly. Like who would he be suggesting?
Okay. Okay. That will all certainly be stuff that we can go over next session. So, with that, I think it is a good time to call it a wrap.